For over 2 years, my father told every architecture firm in Connecticut that I was a thief, not because I stole anything, but because I refused to kneel. I am Stephanie Lawson, 27 years old, and I spent 2 years watching doors slam in my face. 47 applications, 47 rejections. I graduated summa cum laude from Yale School of Architecture with a 3.9 GPA, a portfolio my professors called exceptional, and recommendations that should have opened every door in the industry. None of it mattered. Because Richard Lawson, chairman of Lawson and Partners Architecture, my own father, had made sure no one would hire me. He told them I had sticky fingers, that I was unreliable, that our family was handling a situation privately. He thought 2 years of rejection would break me, thought watching me wait tables while he built his empire would bring me crawling back, begging for forgiveness I never owed him. He was wrong. He did not know about the envelope, the one my grandmother had prepared 15 years ago, sealed with red wax, waiting for this exact moment. He did not know why Catherine Monroe, CEO of the largest development corporation in America, had personally requested this interview. And he certainly did not know that in 45 minutes, something would happen in this room that would make 2 years of humiliation worth every single second. But before I tell you what happened in that interview, I need to take you back to the family that made me, and almost destroyed me. The Lawson family looked perfect from the outside. 3 generations of architects in Hartford, Connecticut. My father, Richard Lawson, 58 years old, chairman of Lawson and Partners Architecture. The firm had designed courthouses, museums, corporate headquarters across New England. Our colonial mansion sat on 4 acres of manicured lawn. The garage held my father's Mercedes, my mother's Lexus, and my sister Olivia's BMW, a graduation gift for finishing her interior design degree. Magazine features called us a dynasty. Charity galas called us generous. The neighbors called us blessed. They did not see what happened behind closed doors. My mother, Victoria Lawson, played her role to perfection. 55 years old, always in pearls, always smiling, always silent when it mattered. Her job was to maintain the image, host the dinners, never contradict my father. I cannot remember a single time she raised her voice to him. Not once in 27 years. Then there was Olivia, my younger sister, 24, the golden child. She had been groomed since childhood to inherit the firm. Father's favorite, mother's project, the family's future. Everything Olivia touched turned to opportunity. Everything I touched was questioned. I learned early that daughters had different places in the Thornton household. When Olivia wanted to study abroad in Paris, father wrote the check without blinking. When I asked about the same program 2 years earlier, he laughed. "What for?" he said. "You will get married eventually. Save me the money." I went to Yale, 40 minutes away, commuted from home, worked 2 jobs to cover what his grudging contribution did not. At family dinners, the conversation always orbited around Olivia, her projects, her promotions, her future. I sat at the end of the table, passing dishes and clearing plates while father carved the roast and dispensed wisdom to his younger daughter. "A woman builds her legacy through her family," he would say, pointing his fork at Olivia. "Remember that." He never pointed that fork at me. When I was 14, I overheard something I have never forgotten. My parents were in the kitchen, voices low, and I had paused outside the door. "Daughters do not need to create," my father said. "They need to follow. Stephanie will marry well. That is her job." I stood there in the hallway, frozen. That was the first time I understood. In my father's eyes, I was not a person with dreams. I was an asset to be managed, a problem to be controlled. That night, I called my grandmother. Before I could say a word, she spoke. "Your father told me what he said. And Stephanie, I want you to listen carefully. He is wrong. About many things. And someday he will learn that the hard way." I did not understand what she meant then. I was 14. But I never forgot her voice. The steel beneath the softness. The certainty that felt like prophecy. My grandmother, Eleanor Lawson, was the only person who ever made me feel like I mattered. She was 82 when she passed 2 years ago. What most people did not know, what the industry refused to acknowledge, was that Eleanor was the true founder of Lawson and Partners. In 1962, when women could barely get architecture licenses in most states, my grandmother designed buildings that changed Hartford's skyline. But she did it under her husband's name first, then under her son's name. My father, 40 years of brilliance, 0 credit. Eleanor never complained publicly, but she kept records, original sketches with dates, correspondence with clients, a lifetime of evidence locked away somewhere safe. Insurance, she called it, for when the truth needs to come out. Every summer from ages 8 to 16, I stayed with Grandma Eleanor in her brownstone in New Haven. The house smelled like lavender and old books. Every room was filled with blueprints, architectural models, volumes on design theory. She taught me to read building plans before I could read novels, showed me how load-bearing walls worked, how light moved through a space, how architecture could heal people just by giving them room to breathe. "Knowledge is freedom, Stephanie," she would say, tapping her temple. "No one can take what is in here." The summer I turned 12, something changed. We were sitting on her rooftop garden, watching the sunset paint New Haven gold and pink. Out of nowhere, Grandma took my hand. Her eyes were serious in a way I had never seen. "Stephanie, I want you to remember something. I need you to remember it." I looked at her, confused. "What, Grandma?" "Your father will try to control you, with money, with reputation, with family loyalty. Do not let him." "But Grandma, he is my father. I have already prepared something." Her grip tightened. "When the time comes, you will have a door he cannot lock." "What do you mean?" "You will know when you need to know. Until then, keep designing, keep dreaming, and never let anyone tell you what you cannot build." Before we left the rooftop that day, she pressed something into my hand, a small brass key, old and ornate. "This opens a safety deposit box at Hartford Savings Bank," she said. "Box 1247. When I am gone, what is inside belongs to you, not your father, not your mother. You." I kept that key hidden for 15 years. I never forgot the number. 1247. The memory faded as I blinked, and I was back in the present. The waiting room of Meridian Development Corporation, 47th floor, Manhattan skyline glittering through floor-to-ceiling windows. My hands were folded in my lap, steady now. They had not always been. 3 weeks ago, I received an email that changed everything. An invitation to interview for the National Architecture Innovation Award, sponsored by Meridian. I had submitted my project, a community center design called the Resilience Center, with 0 expectations. A Hail Mary from a waitress who used to be an architect. I did not even know I had made finalist until that email arrived. Other candidates waited around me. 3 men in expensive suits, 1 woman with a Yale architecture tote bag. They glanced at me, assessed my consignment shop blazer, looked away. I did not belong here, not in their eyes. But I had learned something in 2 years of waiting tables. The people who underestimate you are always the most surprised when you win. On the coffee table in front of me sat a copy of Architecture Digest, the current issue. My father's face smiled from the cover. Richard Lawson, Building the Future of American Architecture. I almost looked away. Then I noticed the smaller headline beneath. Lawson and partners among finalists for Meridian Harborview Tower project. My father was competing for a partnership with the same company about to interview me. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. A young man from Meridian's staff crossed the waiting area. As he passed, he paused beside my chair, leaned in slightly. "Ms. Monroe asked me to tell you," he said quietly, "your grandmother would be proud." Then he walked away before I could respond. How did he know about my grandmother? How many people at Meridian knew the real story? The web Eleanor had woven was larger than I had imagined. The receptionist appeared. "Ms. Lawson? They are ready for you." The other candidates looked up. Surprise flickered across their faces. I was being called first. That was not normal. I gathered my portfolio, stood, and walked toward the conference room. My heels clicked on marble, my heart pounded, but my hands were steady. The conference room stretched before me, long mahogany table, 8 leather chairs, 5 executives already seated, floor-to-ceiling windows with Manhattan sprawling below like a circuit board of ambition. At the head of the table sat an empty chair. "Please, Ms. Lawson," one of the executives said. "Have a seat. Ms. Monroe will join us shortly." I sat, arranged my portfolio, waited. The executives made small talk among themselves, weather, traffic, weekend plans. But they kept glancing at the door, waiting for something, someone. The door opened. Catherine Monroe walked in. Everything in the room shifted. The executives straightened in their chairs. The air itself seemed to change density. This was not just a CEO walking in. This was the woman who had built Meridian Development Corporation from nothing, who had broken every ceiling in a male-dominated industry, who had designed buildings in Dubai, Singapore, São Paulo. 58 years old, silver hair cropped short, charcoal suit that probably cost more than my old apartment. She looked at me, did not smile, did not speak. Just studied me for a long moment that felt like an hour. Her eyes were sharp, assessing, seeing something the other executives could not see. Then she reached into her briefcase, pulled out a folder, set it on the table between us. "Ms. Lawson," she said. Her voice was low, measured. "Before we discuss your qualifications, there is something I need to show you." She opened the folder. Inside I saw photographs, documents, a letter on yellowed paper with handwriting I would recognize anywhere, and something that made my breath catch in my throat. A red wax seal. Broken. Identical to the one on the envelope my grandmother had given me 15 years ago. "I think," Catherine Monroe said quietly, "we need to talk about your grandmother." The room went silent. I stared at the broken seal, at Eleanor's elegant handwriting visible through the documents. Whatever was in that folder, my grandmother had meant for this moment, had planned for it, had prepared it years before I understood I would need it. The question that had haunted me for 2 years, why her, why now, why Meridian, was about to be answered. But first, I had to hear what Catherine Monroe knew about a woman who had been dead for 2 years. And why that woman's secrets had led me here, to this room, to this moment, to the beginning of everything. Catherine Monroe's words hung in the air. "We need to talk about your grandmother." I stared at the folder between us, at the broken red seal, at handwriting I would recognize anywhere. Questions flooded my mind. How did she have Eleanor's documents? What else did she know? How long had she been waiting for me to walk through that door? Catherine raised a hand, sensing my confusion. "Before I show you what is in here, I need to understand something." She leaned forward, her eyes sharp and searching. "Your father has called 17 architecture firms in the past 3 years. Every call contained the same message. His daughter is a thief, unreliable, a family disgrace." She paused, letting the words settle. "I need to know, Ms. Lawson, what exactly did you steal?" I took a breath, steadied myself. Nothing. I stole nothing. Then why would a father destroy his own daughter's career? I looked at the folder, at my grandmother's handwriting visible through the papers. Because I refused to be owned. I paused, feeling the weight of years pressing against my chest. It started with $3,000. Let me take you back 8 years. To the moment my father decided I was his enemy. Fall semester, 2016. I was 19 years old, a sophomore at Yale School of Architecture, one of 12 women in a class of 48. For the first time in my life, I was thriving. Professor Hendricks called my work ambitious, technically precise, emotionally intelligent. I stayed late in the studio every night, designing buildings that existed only in my imagination but felt more real than anything in my father's world. I was finally being seen, finally being valued for what I could create. But architecture school demanded more than talent, it demanded tools. The software we used, AutoCAD, Revit, three-dimensional rendering programs, required computing power my laptop could not provide. I had a 5-year-old Dell, a hand-me-down from high school, and it crashed constantly. Every time I saved a file, I held my breath. Corrupted projects, lost work, hours of rendering that vanished into digital nothing. Other students had MacBook Pros, custom-built desktops, equipment that matched their ambition. I had a machine that belonged in a museum. Thanksgiving break, freshman year. I sat at the family dinner table waiting for the right moment. My father carved the turkey. My mother arranged flowers. Olivia scrolled through her phone, bored by everything that was not about her. I cleared my throat. "Dad, I need a new computer for school. The rendering software keeps crashing." He did not look up from his phone. "How much?" "About $3,000. For a workstation that can handle the programs." Silence, the kind that made my stomach clench. "That is a lot of money for a hobby," he said. "It is not a hobby, Dad. It is my major. It is architecture." Olivia smirked. My mother studied her plate. My father finally looked at me, his expression unreadable. "Fine, use the family card, but only for school expenses. Nothing frivolous. Do you understand?" "Yes, thank you." That was the end of the conversation. I thought it was simple. Permission granted, problem solved. 2 weeks later, I bought the computer. A Dell Precision workstation. Exactly what my professors recommended. $3,147, including tax. I kept every receipt. Emailed copies to my father's assistant. Called home to confirm. "I got it, Dad. Thank you." His response was a grunt. "Mm-hmm." Then he hung up. I thought that was the end of it. 3 months later, spring semester, I was in the architecture studio working on my midterm project when my phone buzzed. My father. He never called. Something cold settled in my stomach. "Come home this weekend. We need to discuss something." His voice was ice. No warmth. No explanation. "What is wrong? Just come home, Stephanie." He hung up before I could ask anything else. Saturday afternoon. The Lawson Mansion. I walked into the dining room and found my father at the head of the table, a credit card statement in his hand. My mother stood by the window, arms crossed, not meeting my eyes. Olivia was nowhere to be seen. Conveniently absent. $3,147. My father's voice was quiet, controlled. The kind of quiet that came before explosions. "For the computer, you approved it. I approved school supplies, notebooks, maybe a printer." "Dad, I told you exactly what I was buying. I sent receipts. I called to confirm. You did not ask permission." His voice rose, the control cracking. "You went behind my back. You spent my money without proper authorization. Do you know what that is called?" "I called you. I explained. Theft." The word hit like a slap across the face. "You stole from this family." The room tilted. I had asked. I had explained. I had documented everything. But Richard Lawson was not interested in facts. He was interested in control. "This is what happens when I give you an inch," he continued. "You take a mile. From now on, you will pay back every cent, with interest. And you will work for it. I was going to get a job anyway. You will work here, at the firm. Summers, weekends, filing, whatever Marcus needs. His assistant manager, his loyal lieutenant. And until you have repaid your debt, you will remember what you are." His eyes were cold, satisfied, a thief. I turned to my mother. She stood by the window, frozen. "Mom, you know this is not fair. You know I asked permission." Her jaw tightened. Seconds stretched into eternity. Finally, she spoke. "Your father is trying to teach you responsibility, Stephanie. Do not make this harder than it needs to be. Not a defense. Not even neutrality, a betrayal wrapped in maternal concern." I understood then. In the Lawson family, there was my father's truth, and there was silence. Nothing else existed. That night, I called my grandmother. Before I could say a word, Eleanor spoke. "I heard." Your father called to tell me what a disappointment you are. Grandma, I did not steal anything. I asked permission. I have receipts. I know, sweetheart. I know exactly what happened. Then why is he doing this? Because you succeeded without his help. Because you are thriving somewhere he cannot control. Because you remind him of me. What do I do? Her voice hardened. Something steel and ancient in it. You survive. You pay him back. Not because you owe it, but because it takes away his weapon. Keep every receipt. Document every payment. And then, Stephanie, you never forget what he is capable of. I returned to Yale with a new mission. 2 jobs. Campus library, 15 hours a week at $11.50 per hour. Weekend barista at a coffee shop near campus. 12 hours at $9 per hour plus tips. 27 hours of work on top of a full-time architecture course load. Sleep became a luxury. My social life disappeared. Other students went to parties, joined clubs, built networks. I worked, I studied. I collapsed into bed at midnight and woke at 5 to do it again. 8 months. That was how long it took. 8 months of double shifts and all-nighters. I lost 15 pounds I could not afford to lose. Migraines became weekly visitors. My hands shook from exhaustion. Professor Hendricks pulled me aside more than once. Stephanie, you look exhausted. Is everything okay? I smiled and lied. Just working hard. I could not tell him the truth. Could not admit that my own father was punishing me for being a good student. I kept everything documented, every paycheck stub, every deposit receipt, a spreadsheet tracking every dollar, date, amount, running balance. I sent monthly updates to my father's email, professional, precise, without emotion. Payment number 1, $487. Remaining balance, $2,660.47. He never responded, not once. October, junior year. I transferred the last $234.67, sent the final email. Balance paid in full. Attached, please find complete payment records and original receipts. I waited for something. Acknowledgement. An apology. Even just the word received. Nothing. 3 days later, I called home. My mother answered, "Oh yes, your father mentioned you finished." "That is good, sweetheart. Is he going to say anything? Is the computer thing done now?" Pause. "I am sure everything is fine. We are having roast chicken Sunday. Will you come?" No apology. No recognition. No closure. Just roast chicken. I hung up and sat in my dorm room, staring at the Dell workstation. The $3,000 theft. I understood something new about my family that day. The debt was never about money. It was about power. My father did not want repayment. He wanted submission. And by paying back every cent, by keeping every receipt, by refusing to break, I had denied him that satisfaction. He would never forgive me for it. What I did not know, while I worked double shifts to repay a debt that should not have existed, my father was telling a different story, at industry dinners, at professional gatherings, at every opportunity. My daughter? Oh, we had some trouble. Sticky fingers, if you know what I mean. We are handling it privately. The whispers had already begun. I just could not hear them yet. November, junior year, 1 month after my final payment. I was in the architecture studio working on my thesis concept when someone knocked on the door. I looked up. My grandmother stood there, holding a picnic basket, looking at me with eyes that saw everything. "I heard you have been forgetting to eat," she said. We found a quiet spot on the building's rooftop terrace. Sandwiches, apple slices, homemade cookies. Eleanor studied my face, the dark circles under my eyes, the weight I had lost. "You have lost weight. I am fine, Grandma. You are surviving. That is not the same as fine." She set down her sandwich. Her expression shifted, became serious. "Stephanie, I need to tell you something about your father. Grandma, I really do not want to talk about him. He did the same thing to me. In 1987, I went still. I designed the Morrison Cultural Center, my best work. Your father put his name on it, told the client I was just his assistant. That is one of the firm's most famous projects. I know. It made his career. Her voice was steady, not bitter, just factual. When I confronted him, he said I should be grateful he let me work at all. That without him I was nothing. Why are you telling me this now? Because I see what he is doing to you. The same patterns, the same control. She reached across the table, took my hand. I have been preparing, Stephanie, for years, building something he cannot touch. Preparing what? A door, for when you need to escape. Grandma, I do not understand. You will. Her grip tightened. When the time comes, you will have options. Not just survival, real freedom. What if he finds out? Her smile turned fierce. Your father thinks he controls everything. Money, reputation, family. But there are things even Richard Lawson cannot reach. Before she left, Eleanor paused at the studio door. Do you still have the envelope I gave you? The one with the red seal? Yes. I have never opened it. Good. Keep it that way. She kissed my forehead. The world has not turned against you yet. Let us hope it never does. She walked away. I did not know it then. But that was the last time I would see my grandmother healthy. 3 weeks later, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. She had 18 months left, and in those 18 months she never stopped preparing. Letters to lawyers, transfers to trusts, meetings with people I had never heard of. She was building an escape route, not for herself, for me, a door my father would never see coming. Catherine Monroe closed the folder gently. Stephanie finished speaking. The conference room was silent. $3,000. Catherine's voice was quiet. He destroyed your career over $3,000 you paid back in full. It was never about the money. No, it was not. Catherine slid the folder across the table. Your grandmother contacted me in 2019, 6 months before she died. My breath caught. She sent me your portfolio, your academic records, letters of recommendation from every professor you ever had. I did not know. She also sent me documentation of every call your father made, every firm he contacted, every lie he told. Catherine's voice hardened. She wanted a record, in case you ever needed proof. Catherine pulled out one final document. A letter, handwritten, Eleanor's elegant script. She also sent me this, a personal letter explaining why she chose Meridian, why she chose me. What does it say? Catherine looked at me with something new in her eyes. Respect, perhaps, or recognition. It says that 40 years ago, I was her student, her protégé, the daughter she wished she had. She paused. And it asks me to do for you what she did for me. Give you a chance when no one else would. The folder sat between us, filled with 15 years of preparation. Everything I had survived. The accusation, the repayment, the whispers I never heard, my grandmother had documented it all. But the question remained. What else had Eleanor prepared? And what would happen when my father discovered his mother had been building a case against him from beyond the grave? I sat frozen in the Meridian conference room, processing what Catherine had just revealed. Eleanor had been Catherine Monroe's mentor 40 years ago. My grandmother had spent her final months building a case, documenting everything my father had done. Not revenge, insurance, protection, love translated into paperwork and legal documents. I do not understand. My voice came out barely above a whisper. Why did she not tell me? Catherine closed the folder gently. Because you were not ready. And because she knew your father was watching. Watching? Richard Lawson has sources everywhere, Ms. Lawson. Your grandmother could not risk him discovering her plans before they were complete. Catherine leaned back in her chair. She told me you would come eventually, that something would force you out of hiding. How could she possibly know that? Because she knew her son. Catherine's voice hardened. She knew the moment you refused to submit, he would try to destroy you. She was right, of course. Grandma always was. The moment I said no, the real no, the one that counted, my father declared war. It happened the day I graduated. May 18th, 2020. Yale School of Architecture commencement ceremony. I stood in front of the mirror in my tiny apartment, adjusting my cap and gown. 6 years instead of 5. Thanks to the debt I had to work off. Thanks to the double shifts and the exhaustion and the semesters I could not afford to take full course loads. But I had made it. Summa cum laude. Dean's List every semester. A portfolio my professors called exceptional. For the first time in my life, I had something that belonged entirely to me. Credentials no one could dismiss, achievement no one could take credit for. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow. The ceremony took place in the university courtyard. Rows of folding chairs stretched across the manicured lawn. Families clutched programs, craning their necks to spot their graduates. I scanned the crowd, searching for familiar faces. Found them, 4th row, center section. My father in his navy suit checking his phone. My mother in her pearls, posture perfect, smile fixed for anyone who might be watching. Olivia beside them, scrolling through Instagram, bored by anything that was not about her. And next to Olivia, an empty seat. Grandma Eleanor's seat. She had died 14 months earlier. The cancer had taken her fast in the end. I had held her hand in hospice, promised to make her proud. Now I was graduating, walking across the stage she had dreamed of seeing me cross, and the one person who had truly believed in me was not there to witness it. The names were called alphabetically. I waited, heart pounding, palms sweating beneath my gown. Stephanie Marie Lawson, summa cum laude. I walked across the stage. Dean Harrison shook my hand, smiled warmly. Exceptional work, Ms. Lawson. You have a bright future ahead. I looked toward my family as I accepted my diploma. My father was talking to Olivia, leaning close, gesturing about something. Business, probably. Always business. My mother was watching the stage, but her eyes were distant, vacant, present in body, absent in everything else. Neither of them was looking at me. I walked off the stage, diploma in hand, completely unseen. After the ceremony, Professor Hendricks found me outside the auditorium. Stephanie, I want you to know I have recommended you to several firms. Top ones. Thank you, Professor. That means everything. You have genuine talent. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. He paused, studied my face like he could see the exhaustion beneath the smile. And do not let family politics hold you back. I have seen it happen to brilliant students before. I wondered how much he knew. Probably more than I realized. As I thanked him, I noticed my father across the courtyard. He was shaking hands with a silver-haired man in an expensive suit. Something about their interaction made me uneasy. The way my father smiled, the way the man nodded, the way they both carefully avoided looking in my direction. I did not recognize him then. I would learn his name later. Harold Whitmore, senior partner at Whitmore Architecture Associates, one of the firms I had already applied to. Lunch was at the Elm, Hartford's most exclusive restaurant. My father had reserved the private dining room, white tablecloths, crystal glasses. A waiter who knew the Lawsons by name. Congratulations, sweetheart. My mother raised her glass. To Stephanie. We clinked. I smiled, said thank you. The champagne tasted like disappointment. Before I could say anything about my plans, my father cleared his throat. I have an announcement. All eyes turned to him. Richard Lawson at the head of the table, commanding attention as always. As of next month, Olivia will be joining Lawson and Partners as design director. My stomach dropped through the floor. Olivia beamed. Thanks, Daddy. I have been preparing for this my whole life. You certainly have. Father raised his glass. To Olivia. The future of the Lawson legacy. Everyone drank. My hand trembled around my glass. Design director. Olivia was 22 years old, fresh out of a state school interior design program. Not architecture, interior design. A completely different field. I had just graduated summa cum laude from Yale School of Architecture. 6 years of training, a portfolio that professors called exceptional. But Olivia got the toast. What about Stephanie? My mother's voice was quiet, almost tentative. She just graduated too. My father waved his hand dismissively. Stephanie's situation is different. Different how? I kept my voice level. Neutral. The way you learn to speak when you have been dismissed your whole life. You are not ready for a leadership role. You need seasoning. I have 6 years of training, a 3.9 GPA, a portfolio that won 3 student competitions. Portfolios do not run companies. He cut me off without raising his voice. Loyalty does. Discipline does. Knowing your place does. The table went silent. Olivia smirked into her champagne. Knowing my place. I repeated the words slowly. Let them hang in the air. You have always been headstrong, Stephanie. Independent. He said it like a diagnosis. Like a disease that needed treatment. Those traits need to be channeled properly. My mother placed a hand on my arm. Your father just wants what is best for you. But I saw it clearly now. This lunch was not a celebration. It was a reminder. Olivia was the future. I was an afterthought, just like always. Under the table, my phone buzzed. An email notification. I glanced down, hoping for distraction. R.E. Application. Whitmore Architecture Associates. My heart leaped. Whitmore was one of the top firms in New England. I had applied 3 months ago, sent my best work, waited anxiously for a response. I opened the email. After careful consideration, we have decided not to move forward with your application at this time. No explanation, no feedback, no invitation to reapply. Just a door quietly closed. After lunch, we walked to the parking lot. My father pulled me aside. A word before you go. My mother and Olivia waited by the car watching. His voice shifted. Softer now, almost paternal. I know lunch was difficult, but I have a proposal for you. My breath caught. Maybe I had misjudged him. Come work at Lawson & Partners. For a moment, hope flickered. We need someone to handle the junior drafting work, documentation, client presentations, that sort of thing. That sounds like entry-level work. It is, but everyone starts somewhere. He smiled. The smile he used with clients. Consider it a training position. Training for what? When Olivia takes over the firm fully, she will need support. A reliable team, family she can trust. I processed his words carefully. You want me to work under Olivia? With Olivia, as her assistant. What is the salary? He laughed. Salary? Stephanie, this is family. We do not pay family. You are offering me an unpaid position. For the first year. Consider it an apprenticeship. You will live at home, save money, learn the business from the ground up. I just spent 6 years learning the business. At Yale. Yale teaches theory. He stepped closer. I am offering practice. Most graduates would kill for this opportunity. Most graduates would be paid. His eyes went cold. Most graduates did not steal from their family. There it was. The $3,000 ghost. Still haunting. I paid that back. Every cent. 4 years ago. The money is not the point. His voice dropped. Trust is. And you have not earned mine back. So this is punishment. This is opportunity, the only one you are going to get. He glanced toward the car, toward Olivia's watching eyes. Come home. Work hard. Prove you can follow before you try to lead. In a few years, when Olivia is established, there might be a real position for you. Translation: serve your sister, earn your keep, know your place, forever. I looked at my father, really looked, saw the calculation behind his concern, the control disguised as opportunity, the cage dressed up as a career. I took a breath. No. His expression did not change, but something behind his eyes shifted, like a door closing, like a predator recognizing prey that would not come willingly. No? He repeated the word like he had never heard it before. No, Dad, I am not going to work unpaid under my sister. You are making a mistake. Maybe, but it will be my mistake. You think you can survive out there without me? Without the Lawson name? I think I have to try. His jaw tightened. The paternal mask slipped away. You want to build your own career? Fine, go ahead. His voice dropped to something cold and final. But do not come crawling back when it does not work out. Do not expect me to make calls, open doors, clean up your messes. I will not. You will regret this, Stephanie. He stepped back, straightened his tie. I promise you that. Olivia appeared beside him, arm linked through his. Everything okay? Your sister has decided she does not need our help. Olivia turned to me, her eyes glittered with something like triumph. Really? You are going solo? I am going to try. Good luck out there, sis. The word dripped with condescension. Without Dad's name, you are nobody. You know that, right? I did not respond. You will be back. She laughed, bright and cruel. They always come back. And when you do, I will make sure there is a nice filing position waiting for you. She led our father toward the Mercedes, still laughing. My mother lingered behind. Her voice was barely audible. Stephanie, please, just say yes. Make this easier. Easier for who, Mom? For all of us. Her eyes glistened. You do not know what he is capable of when he is angry. Then tell me what he does. Silence. Her gaze dropped to the pavement. Just do not make him your enemy. Her voice cracked. He always wins. She walked away, pearls gleaming in the sunlight, spine perfectly straight, soul perfectly bent. I stood alone in the parking lot, diploma in my bag, future uncertain. I had said no. The word I had been afraid to say my whole life. It felt like freedom. It felt like falling. That night, I applied to 11 more architecture firms, sent my portfolio to every company within 200 miles. Surely someone would see my potential. Surely one door would open. By the end of the month, I had been rejected by all of them. The emails were almost identical, after careful consideration, not moving forward. Wish you the best. No interviews, no phone screens, not even a request for references. I did not understand it then. I would not understand for 6 more months, until a professor's phone call revealed the truth. Someone was making calls. Someone was telling lies. Someone was systematically closing every door before I could reach it. And my father always kept his promises. Catherine Monroe spread several documents across the conference table. I watched as she arranged them, my stomach tightening with each new page. The first call your father made was 3 days after graduation. 3 days? Whitmore Architecture Associates. The rejection email you received? Your father had already contacted their hiring director. I remembered the silver-haired man at the graduation ceremony, the handshake, the quick glance in my direction. That man. At the ceremony. He was Harold Whitmore. Yes. Catherine's voice was flat. Your father did not waste time. She spread more documents across the table. Whitmore was just the beginning. Within 6 months, your father had contacted 31 firms in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York. 31? The same message every time. His daughter had a history of theft. Problems with authority. Family scandal being handled privately. I felt sick. All those rejection emails. All those closed doors. All that silence. He blacklisted me before I even started. Yes. Catherine met my eyes. He declared war the moment you said no. She pulled out one more document, a printout of call logs, dates, names. But here is what your father did not count on. What? Your grandmother was documenting everything. Every call he made, she knew about. Every lie he told, she recorded. Catherine tapped the stack of papers. She could not stop him, but she made sure there would be evidence. For when you were ready to fight back. I did not even know there was a fight. There has always been a fight, Ms. Lawson. Catherine's expression was unreadable. The question is whether you are ready to finish it. 31 firms, 2 years of silence, a father's war against his own daughter, waged in whispers and phone calls and carefully worded warnings. And underneath it all, a grandmother's quiet documentation. Evidence I did not know existed. Protection I did not know I had. But knowing the truth was only the beginning. The next chapter of my story would take me from Yale graduate to waitress, from promising architect to woman scrubbing tables, and wondering if she would ever design again. Because when Richard Lawson declared war, he did not just close doors, he burned them. I stared at the documents spread across Catherine's conference table. 31 firms. 31 calls. 31 doors slammed shut before I could even knock. I did not know. My voice came out hollow. I thought I just was not good enough. That is what he wanted you to think. Catherine's voice was steady. Isolation works best when the victim blames themselves. She leaned forward. Tell me what those 2 years were like. After graduation. I closed my eyes. 2 years of silence. 2 years of rejection emails that said nothing and meant everything. 2 years of watching my savings drain away while I wondered what was wrong with me. It was like drowning in slow motion, and I did not even know someone was holding me under. Let me tell you about the 6 months that broke me, and the phone call that explained everything. November 2020, 6 months after graduation. My daily routine had become a ritual of rejection. Wake at 6 in the morning, check email, nothing. Spend the morning customizing cover letters and tailoring my portfolio for each application. Afternoon, refresh job boards and apply to anything remotely related to architecture. Evening, stare at my phone, willing it to ring. Night, lie awake in the dark, replaying every interview question I had never been asked, wondering where I had gone wrong. 47 applications sent, 47 rejections received. Or worse, silence. The kind of silence that makes you question your own existence. I had applied to firms in Hartford, New Haven, Boston, New York, big firms with glass towers, small firms with character, startups looking for fresh talent, established practices seeking junior architects. The response was always the same, a form email, after careful consideration. We have decided to pursue other candidates. Wish you the best in your future endeavors. No interviews, no phone screens, not even a request for references or additional portfolio samples. Just closed doors and form letters. My savings account told its own story. I had started with $4,200. Everything I had saved from working through college. My rent for the tiny studio apartment was $850 a month. Utilities, food, gas for the car I needed to drive to interviews that never came. By November, I was down to $1,100, 2 more months, maybe 3 if I stopped eating. Then I would have to move back home. The thought made me physically ill. Moving home meant surrendering, meant proving my father right, meant kneeling at his feet and begging for the unpaid position he had offered as a gift. I would rather sleep in my car. Late nights became torture sessions. I would spread my portfolio across the apartment floor and study each piece like it held some secret flaw I had missed. Was my work not good enough? Too ambitious? Too conservative? Not innovative enough? I redesigned my resume 11 times, changed the fonts, reorganized the sections, asked former classmates for feedback. "It looks great, Steph," they said. "I do not understand why you are not getting calls." Neither did I. The worst part was not the rejection. It was the silence. No one would tell me what I was doing wrong. No one would give me feedback or explain why my applications disappeared into void after void. Because I was not doing anything wrong. I just did not know it yet. One night, scrolling through Instagram when I should have been sleeping, I saw a post from a former classmate, Derek Morrison. He had been hired at Whitmore Architecture Associates, the same firm that had rejected me first, the same firm where Harold Whitmore had shaken my father's hand at graduation. In the comments, someone asked how he got the position. His response made my stomach turn. Just lucky, I guess. They said they had concerns about another candidate and went with me instead. Another candidate. Concerns. I stared at those words until my phone screen went dark. December 2020. The week before Christmas. I was sitting in my apartment, surrounded by rejection emails I had printed out like evidence of my own failure, when my phone rang. Professor Hendricks. My heart leaped. Maybe a recommendation had come through. Maybe someone had finally seen my potential. "Professor, do you have news?" Long pause. Too long. Stephanie, I need to tell you something. And I am sorry I did not call sooner. The hope in my chest turned to ice. I had lunch with Harold Whitmore last week, old colleague from my days in practice. We were catching up and your name came up. Whitmore? They rejected me months ago. I know. I asked him why. You were one of my best students. I could not understand it. My grip tightened on the phone. He was uncomfortable. Said they had received information about you, from a senior industry figure. Information? What information? That you had a history of theft, that you were difficult and unreliable, that your family was handling a situation privately. The room tilted, walls closing in. Theft? That is not. I know. His voice was heavy. I defended you. Told him it was nonsense, but the damage was done. How many firms? My voice was barely a whisper. I made some calls today. Reached out to contacts at other practices. Pause. Everyone has heard the same thing, Stephanie. Someone has been calling, warning them about you. Someone. They will not say who directly, but the description is always the same. Older man, industry veteran, very well connected. I knew. Of course I knew. It is my father. Silence on the line. I suspected, Professor Hendricks finally said. I am so sorry. I have seen family politics before, but this is something else entirely. This is war. What do I do? My voice cracked. 2 years of exhaustion and rejection finally breaking through. Honestly, I do not know. His reach is extensive. The Lawson name carries weight in every firm from here to Boston. So I just give up? No. His voice hardened. You are too talented for that, but you might need to leave the region. Start fresh somewhere he has not poisoned. Leave Connecticut? Leave New England, maybe further. He paused, or wait him out. He cannot call every firm in America. But I heard what he did not say. Richard Lawson could certainly try. After hanging up, I sat in the dark for an hour. Then I opened my laptop and searched Lawson and Partners' recent partnerships. The results made my breath catch. In the past 6 months, my father had announced joint ventures with 3 of the firms that had rejected me. He was not just blacklisting me. He was building an empire on my exclusion. Every door he closed for me opened one for him. The next morning, I drove to Lawson and Partners headquarters, a converted Victorian mansion in downtown Hartford. I had grown up running through these halls, playing hide-and-seek in the conference rooms while my father worked late. Now they felt like enemy territory. The receptionist at the front desk was Margaret. She had worked there for 20 years, watched me grow up. Stephanie. Her face lit up. We have not seen you in so long. Is my father in? Her smile faltered. He is in a meeting, but I can check if I will wait. I sat in the lobby, surrounded by framed awards and magazine covers. My father's face everywhere, smiling, successful, respected. Including, I noticed, the Morrison Cultural Center Award. Grandma Eleanor's design. Her name nowhere to be found. 45 minutes. I did not move. Finally, my father emerged from the conference room, clients in tow. He saw me. His expression did not change. Gentlemen, excuse me, family matter. He led me to his office, closed the door behind us. The room was all dark wood and leather, diplomas and accolades covering every wall, the smell of his cologne, the soft tick of an antique clock. You have been calling them. I did not sit. Every firm I applied to. He settled into his chair, utterly calm. Have I? Do not pretend. Professor Hendricks told me everything. Hendricks, a dismissive wave, academics, always so dramatic. You told them I was a thief. I told them the truth. He steepled his fingers. You took money without permission. That is theft. I paid it back, every cent, 4 years ago. That is not the point. Then what is the point, Dad? To destroy me? To teach you? His voice was patient, almost kind, which made it worse. You had a choice. You could have come home, worked hard, earned your place. Instead, you chose pride. I chose independence. Same thing. He shrugged. And now you are learning what independence costs. You are ruining my career. I am pausing it." He leaned forward. "When you are ready to come home, really ready, humble and grateful, I will make one phone call, just one, and every door will open." "And if I do not come back?" His smile did not reach his eyes. "Then I suppose you will have to find a different career." I stared at my father, the man who was supposed to protect me, the man who was methodically destroying my future to prove a point. "Why?" The word came out broken. "Why do you hate me so much?" Something flickered in his eyes. Not guilt, not regret. Annoyance. "I do not hate you, Stephanie. I am disappointed in you. There is a difference." He turned back to his computer. "Dismissing me. Close the door on your way out." I walked through the lobby, past the conference room where his meeting had been. Through the glass, I saw the attendees still gathering their things. One of them looked up. David Chen, senior partner at Chen and Associates, a firm I had applied to 3 weeks earlier. He met my eyes for a moment, then looked away quickly, shame flickering across his face. They were all in on it, the whole industry. And my father was the puppet master. I drove to the family home. Maybe my mother did not know. Maybe she could help. Last hope. Last family member who might still be family. Victoria was in the garden, pruning roses, pearls in place even for yard work. Always the image. Mom. She looked up, saw my face, went pale. "Stephanie, what is wrong? Did you know?" "Know what, sweetheart? Do not sweetheart me. Did you know Dad was calling every firm, telling them I am a thief?" Her pruning shears went still. Silence. That was answer enough. "How long?" My voice was barely a whisper. "He is your father. He knows what is best." "How long?" She flinched. "Set down the shears. Since graduation." Her voice was almost inaudible. "He said it was for your own good, that you needed to learn. And you just let him?" What was I supposed to do? Something. Anything. Her eyes filled with tears. But she did not move toward me. "You do not understand, Stephanie. Your father when he decides something. So you just watched. For 6 months. While he destroyed my career. While I thought I was going crazy. I thought you would come home eventually. You thought wrong." I stepped back. "I am not coming home. Not now. Not ever. Stephanie, please. You made your choice, Mom. You chose him. Like you always do." I walked to my car, did not look back. Behind me, I heard my mother crying. I did not stop. As I drove away, my phone buzzed. Instagram notification. I should not have looked, but I did. Olivia had posted a photo, the whole family at dinner, celebrating Lawson and Partners' new strategic partnership. Caption: "So grateful for family who always supports each other." I was not in the photo. I had not been invited. I had not even known about the dinner. I turned off my phone and drove until I could not see the mansion in my rearview mirror anymore. January 2021. Savings, $312. Rent due in 2 weeks, $850. No callbacks, no interviews, no hope. I sat in my apartment, surrounded by rejection emails, and faced the truth. I had 2 choices: call my father and surrender, or find another way. Surrender was not an option. I searched job boards, not for architecture positions anymore, for anything, retail, food service, cleaning, anything with a paycheck. Most places wanted experience I did not have. Then one listing caught my eye. Rosie's Diner. Waitress needed, no experience necessary, must be willing to work hard. Rosie's Diner was a small place on the outskirts of Hartford, checkered floors, vinyl booths, coffee that never stopped brewing. I walked in, resume in hand. Pointless, but habit. A woman looked up from behind the counter, 45, dark hair streaked with silver, eyes that had seen everything and judged nothing. "You are not here for the eggs, are you? I am here about the job." She studied me. "What is your story?" "I am an architect who cannot get hired." "Why not?" I hesitated, then decided on truth. My father blacklisted me from the industry. She did not blink. Sounds like you need more than a job. You need a place to land. I just need to survive. She nodded slowly. I can work with that. She extended her hand. Elena Martinez. Welcome to Rosie's. Minimum wage plus tips. Shifts are 6 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, or 2 in the afternoon to 10 at night. I will train you myself. When can I start? Tomorrow morning. Be here at 5:30. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you. You do not know. Yeah, I do. Her voice softened. We all land somewhere, honey. The question is whether we get back up. She handed me an apron. I tied it around my waist. From Yale architecture graduate to diner waitress in 8 months. My father thought he had broken me. Thought I would come crawling back. He was wrong. I did not know it yet, but this diner would become my sanctuary. And Elena Martinez would become the mentor I did not know I needed. The war was not over. It was just beginning. 5:30 in the morning. January 4th, 2021. My first real shift at Rosie's Diner. The coffee was already brewing when I pushed through the back door, the smell hitting me like a wall. Burnt grounds and bacon grease and something that might have been hope. Elena handed me an apron without a word. Tied it yourself. You will be doing it 100 times. My feet were aching by 8. My back was screaming by noon. I dropped a tray of pancakes on day 2, spilled coffee on a customer's lap on day 3, watched the syrup slide across the checkered floor like my dignity melting away. Elena did not yell. She just handed me a mop and said, "Everyone breaks dishes. The good ones learn to carry more." At Yale, I was Stephanie Lawson, summa cum laude, future architect, design competition winner, professor's favorite. At Rosie's, I was just Steph, the new girl who could not balance a tray without trembling. No one asked about my degree. No one cared about my portfolio or my 3.9 GPA. I was invisible here. And for the first time in months, that felt like relief. I thought waitressing would be a temporary stop. A few months to save money, regroup, figure out my next move. I did not know it would become my life for 2 years. Or that Rosie's Diner would teach me more about survival than Yale ever did. The routine became my rhythm. Morning shift, 5:30 to 2 in the afternoon. Coffee pots filled before sunrise. Eggs cracked by the dozen. Bacon grease permanent on my clothes no matter how many times I washed them. The regulars started arriving at 6. Truck drivers needing fuel before long hauls. Construction workers grabbing breakfast before the job site. Nurses ending night shifts with exhausted eyes and grateful smiles. They wanted hot coffee, fast service, and someone who remembered their orders. I learned. Frank liked his eggs over easy with extra crispy hash browns. Maria wanted decaf but pretended it was regular so her daughter would not worry. Old Mr. Patterson came every day at 7:15, ordered the same oatmeal, and read the same newspaper from front to back. Small rituals, small kindnesses, a world my father would never understand. Minimum wage was $7.25 an hour. The real money came from tips. Good day, $60 to $80, bad day, $30 if I was lucky. I learned to smile through rudeness. Refill coffee before being asked. Remember names and orders and birthdays and anniversaries. Service industry humbles you fast, Elena told me one morning. Either you learn to see people as people, or you burn out. I learned. I had no choice. The physical toll came fast. My feet blistered the first month. I bought gel insoles with my first paycheck. My hands grew rough from hot plates and dish soap, calluses forming in new places. No longer from drafting pencils and architectural models. Now from carrying 4 plates at once and scrubbing grease traps at closing time. I lost more weight, gained it back slowly when Elena started feeding me end-of-shift meals. "You are too skinny," she would say, sliding a plate of meatloaf in front of me. "Eat. It is not pretty, but it is protein." I ate, gratefully. No one at Rosie's knew I had a Yale degree. No one knew my father was Richard Lawson, industry titan. No one knew I had been blacklisted from my own profession by my own blood. I was just Steph, waitress, nobody. There was freedom in that, and grief. Some mornings, carrying plates of eggs to strangers, I would catch my reflection in the chrome coffee machine. Distorted, unrecognizable. The girl who designed buildings was becoming the woman who served breakfast. I did not know if that was survival or surrender. One morning, a customer left a magazine on his table. Architecture Digest. I picked it up to throw it away, and my father's face stared back at me from the cover. Richard Lawson, Building the Future of American Architecture. I stood there, frozen, holding the magazine like it might bite. Elena appeared beside me, took it gently from my hands. Old life? I nodded. She threw it in the trash without another word, did not ask questions, did not push, just protected me from something I could not protect myself from. 3 months into the job, slow afternoon. The lunch rush had ended and the dinner crowd had not started. Elena and I were wiping down tables, working in comfortable silence. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "You can ask. Doesn't mean I will answer. How did you end up here, running a diner?" Her cloth stopped moving. "You mean what is a smart woman like me doing in a place like this?" "I did not mean it like that. I know," she smiled, sad and knowing. "I was a CPA in my previous life, 15 years at a Hartford accounting firm. Good salary, corner office, the whole dream. What happened?" Her eyes went distant. "My husband got sick. Cancer, the aggressive kind. I took time off to care for him. 3 months became 6, 6 became a year. I am sorry, he died on a Tuesday morning." She said it matter-of-factly, but her voice trembled underneath. Beautiful spring day. Birds singing, all that poetic nonsense. When it was over, I went back to work. My position was filled. No one wanted to hire a 42-year-old accountant with a gap in her resume. That is not fair. Corporate world has no room for grief. She shrugged. No room for life happening. "So you bought a diner? With his life insurance. The original owner was retiring. The price was right. I did not know anything about running a restaurant. Learned as I went. Made every mistake you can imagine. Do you miss accounting? Sometimes?" She looked around the diner, the worn booths, the regulars nursing coffee, the chaos of the kitchen. The numbers were clean, made sense. But here I matter, not to a spreadsheet, to people. She nodded toward the window. "Frank's wife left him last year. He comes here because we remember his name. Mrs. Patterson's husband died in 2019. She comes here because we ask about her grandkids." She turned to me, eyes serious. "That is worth more than a corner office. You think I am failing because I am here." I said it quietly. The fear I had not spoken aloud. "You are not failing, Steph. You are in transition. Transition to what? That is for you to figure out." She put a hand on my shoulder. "But do not you dare let them make you small." My throat tightened. "My father. Your father sounds like a man who measures worth in power. That is his problem, not yours." She squeezed my shoulder and walked away. That night, I went home and pulled out my laptop for the first time in weeks. I did not apply to architecture firms. There was no point. Instead, I opened a blank design file and just drew. Nothing specific, just lines and shapes and spaces. The way light might fall through a window. The curve of a wall that would make someone feel held instead of trapped. It felt like breathing after holding my breath for months. I stayed up until 3 in the morning. The next day, exhausted but strangely lighter, I showed up to my shift on time. Elena noticed the change. She did not say anything, just smiled. Saturday afternoon, late February. The lunch rush was ending, and I was clearing tables near the back. The bell over the door chimed. I looked up. My father walked in, Olivia beside him, 2 men in expensive suits behind them, business associates, an audience. My blood went cold. Richard scanned the diner. His eyes found me immediately. His smile was sharp, satisfied. "Well, well." His voice carried across the room. What a coincidence. It was not a coincidence. I knew that instantly. He had come here on purpose. He had brought witnesses. "Table for 4, please." He was talking to me. making sure everyone knew I was the waitress here. Booth or counter? My voice did not shake. Small victory, booth. By the window. I want everyone to see us. I led them to a booth, handed out menus. My hands were steady. Years of my father's cruelty had trained me for this. Stephanie, say hello to Robert and James, partners at Morrison Bradley Architecture. The two men looked uncomfortable. They had not known this was the plan. Hello. I did not offer my hand. I was a waitress here, not a colleague, my daughter. Richard's voice rose, loud enough for the tables around us to hear. Yale graduate. Decided corporate architecture was not for her. Prefers the service industry now. Olivia laughed, high and cruel. The tips must be amazing. What can I get you? I kept my voice flat. Richard made a show of studying the menu. What do you recommend? You must know this menu by heart by now. The Reuben is popular. Is that what you eat? Staff meals? He turned to his companions. She always did have simple tastes. One of the men, Robert, shifted uncomfortably. Richard, maybe we should. 4 Reubens. And coffee. Make sure it is hot. I wrote it down, walked away. Behind me I heard Olivia giggle. I cannot believe she actually works here. In the kitchen my composure cracked, hands shaking as I clipped the order to the line. Eyes burning. But I would not cry. Not here. Not because of him. Elena appeared beside me. I saw. You okay? That is my father out there. Her eyes went hard. The one who... Yes. She looked through the service window at Richard Lawson, holding court in her diner. You want me to spit in his coffee? Despite everything, I almost laughed. No, I want to serve him his food, take his money, and watch him leave. Why? Because that is what he does not want. He wants me to cry, to run, to break. I took a breath. I will not give him that. I carried out 4 Reubens, 4 coffees. Set them down perfectly, not a drop spilled. Anything else? Richard watched me, waiting for the crack. No, this will do. I turned to walk away. Stephanie, I stopped, did not turn around. You know, there is still a position available at the firm. Filing, administrative work. It is not too late to come home. Now I turned, looked him in the eye. I am home, Dad. I walked away. Behind me, silence. When Richard's group finally left, I found their table. The check was paid, cash, exact amount, no tip. And underneath the empty coffee cup, a business card for Lawson and Partners. 2 words written on the back in my father's handwriting. Last chance. I put the card in my pocket. Not because I was considering it, but because someday I wanted to remember what he had done. Every humiliation, every cruelty. Evidence for a future I could not yet see. 10 at night. Diner closed. Stephanie sat in an empty booth, staring at nothing. Elena slid in across from her. Set down 2 glasses of whiskey. I do not usually drink. Tonight you do. They drank in silence. That man, Elena finally said, is a monster. He is my father. Those are not mutually exclusive. I turned the glass in my hands. He came here to break me. In front of his colleagues. In front of everyone. Did he? What? Did he break you? I thought about it. The shaking hands in the kitchen, the burning eyes, the urge to run, but also the steady service, the flat voice, the refusal to cry. No, he did not. Then you won. It does not feel like winning. It never does. Not at first. Elena finished her whiskey. Listen to me, Steph. You are going to get out of this. I do not know how, I do not know when. But you are too smart, too stubborn, too damn talented to stay stuck forever. What if I am not? What if this is it? Then you make this good. You build something here. But I do not think that is your path. She stood, grabbed her keys. Your path is still out there. You just cannot see it yet. She left. I pulled out my phone. Opened the architecture competition page I had bookmarked weeks ago. National Architecture Innovation Award. Open submissions. Deadline, 6 months away. Maybe. Just maybe. That night in my cramped apartment, I made a decision. I could not fight my father directly. He controlled the industry, the narrative, the doors. But he could not control everything. He could not control anonymous submissions, national competitions, work judged on merit, not name. I opened a new project file, named it the Resilience Center, and I began to design. For the next 6 months, I lived a double life. By day, waitress at Rosie's Diner, invisible, surviving. By night, architect in secret, designing a building that would tell my story without using my name. I told no one, not Elena, not my old professors, certainly not my family. The fewer people who knew, the less chance my father could sabotage it. I was building a door he could not lock, just like my grandmother had promised. May 2022. Submission deadline approaching. 11:47 at night. 13 minutes before cutoff. I stared at my laptop screen, the upload button, my entire future compressed into digital files. I had used my own name, Stephanie Lawson, not Lawson and Partners, just me. If my father found out, he would destroy it somehow. Find a way to poison this too. But I was done hiding, done being afraid. I pressed submit and waited. May 2022, the moment after pressing submit. I stared at the confirmation screen until my eyes burned. Your submission has been received. Finalists will be notified within 90 days. 90 days. 3 months of not knowing. I closed my laptop and looked around my cramped apartment. Design files scattered across every surface. Coffee cups with dried rings at the bottom. Takeout containers I kept forgetting to throw away. 6 months of my life compressed into one digital file, now floating somewhere in cyberspace, being judged by strangers who did not know my name meant anything. The next morning I went back to Rosie's Diner, tied my apron, poured coffee, smiled at regulars. No one knew what I had done the night before. No one knew about the Resilience Center or the competition or the hope I was terrified to feel. I kept it locked inside, a secret garden growing in my chest. If I spoke it aloud, my father might somehow hear, might somehow destroy it the way he destroyed everything else. So I stayed silent, and I waited. But to understand what I built and why, I need to take you back further. To the summer I was 12 years old, and my grandmother showed me what architecture really meant. Summer of 2007. I was 12, spending 2 weeks at Grandmother Eleanor's brownstone in New Haven. The house smelled like lavender and old paper, the scent of a lifetime spent creating things that mattered. Every room was filled with books and blueprints and architectural models, evidence of a mind that never stopped designing. On the 3rd day of my visit, Eleanor led me up to the attic. A narrow staircase I had never noticed before, hidden behind a door I had always assumed was a closet. I want to show you something I have never shown anyone else, she said. The attic was not what I expected, no dusty boxes or forgotten furniture. Instead, it was a small room, climate-controlled, locked with a key Eleanor wore on a chain around her neck. Inside were filing cabinets, flat files for storing large documents, rolled blueprints organized by decade, an archive of a lifetime's work. What is all this, Grandma? My real work. She turned on the lights, revealing rows and rows of carefully preserved documents, the buildings they put your father's name on. She pulled out a set of blueprints and spread them across a large table. The Morrison Cultural Center, 1987, your father's breakthrough project. I recognized the building. Everyone in Hartford did. It had won awards, been featured in magazines, made my father's reputation. I know this building. Dad has the award in his office. He has my award in his office. Her voice was steady. Not bitter, just factual. I designed every room, every angle, every window placement. When I presented it to the client, your father introduced me as his assistant. I did not understand. Why did you not say something? I did. Once? Your grandfather told me to be grateful I was allowed to work at all. Your father said if I made trouble, he would remove me from the firm entirely. So you just let them take credit? I survived. Her eyes met mine. There is a difference. She sat down on a worn leather chair and pulled me close. I am telling you this not to make you hate your father. He is already doing that to himself. Then why? Because I want you to understand something about architecture, about creation. She gestured at the hidden archive surrounding us. Buildings are not just steel and glass, Stephanie. They are stories. They are shelter. They are the physical shape of how we care for each other. I do not understand. You will. Someday you will design something. And when you do, I want you to remember this. The best buildings are not monuments to the architect. They are gifts to the people who use them. Gifts? Spaces where people feel seen, feel safe, feel human. Her eyes were bright with something I could not name. That is what I tried to create, even when no one knew my name was behind it. I looked around the archive. Decades of work, hundreds of designs, all hidden, all stolen. Grandma, I want to be an architect, like you. She smiled, the real smile, the one she saved for moments that mattered. Then promise me something, anything. Promise me you will build for people, not for credit. That you will create spaces that heal, not just impress. I promise. And promise me one more thing. Her grip tightened on my hand. When your father tries to take credit for your work, and he will try, you will not let him. You will fight in ways I never did. I did not fully understand then, but I nodded. I promise, Grandma. She kissed my forehead. That is my girl. Before we left the attic that day, Eleanor pressed something into my hand. A small brass key, old and ornate. This opens a safety deposit box at Hartford Savings Bank. Box 1247. When I am gone, what is inside belongs to you, not your father, not your mother, you. I kept that key hidden in my jewelry box for 15 years. I never forgot the number. 1247. I just never had the courage to use it. Not until now. My eyes refocused on the Meridian conference room. I had been silent for a long moment, lost in memory. Catherine Monroe waited patiently. Your grandmother, she said softly. She shaped how you see architecture. She shaped everything. I can see that in your competition entry. The Resilience Center. Catherine pulled out a printed copy of my submission. Tell me about this design. The Resilience Center was not just a building. It was an answer to 2 years of invisibility, 2 years of being told I was worthless, a community hub designed for people pushed to society's margins, single mothers needing affordable childcare while they worked 2 jobs, veterans struggling to reintegrate, needing space that did not feel institutional, elderly isolated from family, needing connection without condescension, immigrants finding their footing, needing resources without bureaucratic coldness. Every choice in the design was intentional, natural light in every room, because I knew what it felt like to work in windowless spaces, to feel forgotten in dark corners, open sightlines but private corners, because dignity requires both community and solitude. Sometimes you need to be seen, sometimes you need to hide, childcare adjacent to job training. Because I had watched single mothers at Rosie's juggle impossible logistics, leaving children with strangers so they could learn skills that might lift them out of poverty. A central courtyard with varied seating. Because Mr. Patterson came to the diner every day just to feel less alone. Because connection should not require money, materials that were warm but durable. Because the people who needed this space deserved beauty, not just function. Because dignity is not a luxury. But emotion alone did not win competitions. I had learned structural engineering at Yale. I used every lesson. The building was designed for efficiency. LEED Platinum certification standards. Modular construction to reduce costs and timeline. Flexible spaces that could adapt as community needs changed. Budget projections that were realistic, not aspirational. I had done the math. The building could actually be built. Why Resilience Center? Catherine asked. I looked at the design. My baby, my secret, my hope, because that is what the people who would use it have. Resilience. They are not broken. They are just in transition. I paused, remembering Elena's words. The building should honor that, not fix them, support them while they fix themselves. Catherine nodded slowly, something shifting in her expression. Your grandmother would be proud. I hope so. What I did not tell Catherine: I had designed the Resilience Center in stolen hours, exhausted and half delirious between waitressing shifts and sleepless nights. Some sections were drafted on napkins at Rosie's, hidden under my apron when customers approached. The final rendering was completed at 4 a.m. the night before the deadline, my hands shaking from coffee and fear. It was not just a building. It was proof that 2 years of sabotage could not kill what my grandmother had planted in me. The 3 months of waiting were torture. Every day I checked my email obsessively. Every day, nothing from the competition committee. But worse than the waiting was the fear. What if my father found out? I had been careful, paranoid even, submitted under my legal name Stephanie M. Lawson, not Lawson and Partners. Used my personal email, not any account my father could access. Listed my address as a post office box, not my apartment. Never mentioned the competition to anyone. Not Elena, not old classmates, no one. I deleted my browser history after every research session. If my father searched for my name in connection with architecture, he would find nothing. But paranoia could not cover everything. July 2022. 2 months after submission. I was scrolling through Instagram during my break at Rosie's when I saw Olivia's latest post. Lawson and Partners summer party, champagne glasses and designer dresses, and my father's smile lighting up the frame. I almost scrolled past. Then I saw the caption. Exciting news coming soon. Big announcement about a major partnership. Dad has been working on something huge. Partnership with whom? What announcement? My mind raced. The competition winner would be announced publicly. Industry publications would cover it. If I won, if I even placed, my father would find out. And then what? That night, I could not sleep. I pulled out my laptop and searched National Architecture Innovation Award sponsors. The results made my stomach drop. The award was sponsored by Meridian Development Corporation, one of the largest development firms in America. And according to their website, they were currently evaluating potential partnerships for a major project called Harborview Tower, the same project Olivia had been hinting about. The worlds were colliding, and I was standing directly in the crossfire. August 2022, 3 weeks before the finalist announcement. I was deep cleaning my apartment, trying to distract myself from the waiting, when my phone buzzed. Architecture school group chat, mostly dormant since graduation. A former classmate had shared a link. Check out this new project from Lawson and Partners. Thoughts? I clicked, heart already sinking. Lawson and Partners website. Newly updated. Introducing our submission for the Hartford Civic Center redesign. Lead designer, Olivia Lawson. I scrolled through the renderings. Modern, elegant, ambitious, and horrifyingly familiar. The central atrium, the cascading light wells, the way public and private spaces interweaved. I had seen this design before. Not in Olivia's portfolio, not in any contemporary architecture journal. In my grandmother's attic, 15 years ago. This was one of Eleanor's unrealized concepts. A civic center she had designed in 1994, shelved when funding fell through. Olivia had not designed this. She had stolen it from a dead woman's archive. My hands shook as I scrolled through the comments. Stunning work. Olivia Lawson is the future of the firm. Like father, like daughter. No one knew, no one suspected. My father had built his career on Eleanor's stolen work. Now Olivia was doing the same. The Lawson legacy. 3 generations of theft disguised as talent. I wanted to scream, wanted to expose them, but I had no proof. The attic archive was in my father's possession now, probably destroyed. Or was it? The brass key, box 1247. Grandmother had said what was inside belonged to me. Maybe the proof I needed was waiting. Had been waiting for 15 years. I dug through my jewelry box until I found it. The small brass key, tarnished now but unmistakable. Hartford Savings Bank. Box 1247. I had been too scared to use it before, too unsure what I would find. But now, with Olivia parading our grandmother's stolen work, with my father's empire built on invisible theft, I needed to know. Tomorrow was Saturday, my day off. I would go to the bank, and whatever was in that box would change everything. Saturday morning, August 2022. I woke early, the brass key on my nightstand. Today I would go to the bank, finally open box 1247, finally discover what my grandmother had been protecting. I was making coffee when my phone buzzed. Email notification. My heart stopped. Subject line, National Architecture Innovation Award. Finalist notification. My hands trembled as I opened it. Dear Ms. Lawson, we are pleased to inform you that your submission, the Resilience Center, has been selected as one of 5 finalists for the 2022 National Architecture Innovation Award. I read it 3 times, then 3 more. Finalist. Out of hundreds of submissions. I was a finalist. The email continued. The final judging panel will include representatives from our sponsor, Meridian Development Corporation. The winner will be announced at a gala ceremony in New York City on October 15th. Meridian Development Corporation, the company evaluating partnerships for Harborview Tower, the company my father was trying to work with. I sat down heavily, coffee forgotten. I was a finalist. My secret project had made the final 5, but the announcement would be public. Industry publications would cover it. My father would find out. There was no avoiding it now. I looked at the brass key, still on my nightstand. 2 paths forward, 2 revelations waiting. Box 1247 and whatever grandmother had hidden there. And a gala in New York where everything I had built in secret would finally see light. I picked up the key, felt its weight in my palm. I had been hiding for 2 years, surviving, waiting. But hiding time was over. My grandmother had prepared something, a door my father could not lock. It was time to find out what was behind it. I grabbed my jacket, pocketed the key, headed for Hartford Savings Bank. Whatever I found there, I was done being invisible. Saturday morning, August 2022. I stood outside Hartford Savings Bank, the brass key heavy in my pocket. The building was old, stone facade with brass fixtures, built in 1923. My grandmother would have appreciated the architecture. The craftsmanship of an era that believed banks should inspire trust. Inside, the lobby echoed with history. Marble floors worn smooth by a century of footsteps. Teller cages from another era, now mostly decorative. The smell of old paper and polished wood. I approached the main desk. I would like to access a safety deposit box, number 1247. The bank manager, a woman in her 60s with silver-rimmed glasses, studied my identification. Her nameplate read, Mrs. Chen. Lawson. She looked up. Are you related to Eleanor Lawson? She was my grandmother. Mrs. Chen's expression softened. She was a remarkable woman. I am sorry for your loss. You knew her? She came in every few months, always alone, always asked me not to mention her visits to anyone. She paused, something shifting in her eyes. She said someday her granddaughter would come with a brass key. She told you about me? She said you would come when you were ready. Mrs. Chen smiled sadly. I have been waiting 18 months. Mrs. Chen led me to the vault. Walls of metal boxes stretched from floor to ceiling, each one holding someone's secrets, someone's hopes, someone's evidence. Box 1247 was in the middle row, not too high, not too low. Eleanor had chosen carefully, as always. I inserted the key, turned it. The box slid out, heavier than I expected. Take your time, Mrs. Chen said. I will give you privacy. She closed the vault door behind her. I was alone with whatever my grandmother had hidden for 15 years. Inside the box, I found a thick manila envelope sealed with red wax. Eleanor's signature, a leather-bound journal worn with age, a USB drive labeled Archive Backup, 1962 through 2019, a smaller envelope with Open Second written in Eleanor's hand, and at the bottom, a handwritten letter. The letter on top, meant to be read first. My dearest Stephanie, if you are reading this, I am gone, and you have finally needed the door. Everything in this box is yours. The evidence, the truth, the ammunition. Use it wisely. Use it when you are ready. And remember, the best revenge is not destruction. It is building something they cannot tear down. I love you, always. Grandma Eleanor. My hands trembled as I lifted the leather journal. Inside the front cover, Eleanor had written a date. February 3rd, 2021, last entry, 3 days before she died. I had visited her in hospice that same week, held her hand as she slept. I had not known she was still writing, still preparing. Even in her final days, my grandmother had been building a door. The memory came flooding back. February 2021, 18 months earlier. Hartford Memorial Hospice. Room 412. The smell of antiseptic and dying flowers. The soft beep of monitors measuring the distance between life and death. Eleanor Lawson, 82 years old, barely recognizable against the white sheets. The cancer had taken everything. Her weight, her strength, her sharp edges that had protected me my whole life. But her eyes were still clear. Still Eleanor. I sat beside her bed, holding her paper-thin hand, watching her chest rise and fall in shallow breaths. You came. Her voice was barely a whisper. Of course I came. I squeezed her hand gently. I come every day. Your father? He was here this morning, for 10 minutes. Her laugh was more cough than sound. 10 minutes, for his dying mother. Grandma, do not exhaust yourself. I am dying, sweetheart. Her eyes found mine with sudden intensity. I can say whatever I want. Her grip tightened, suddenly strong. Listen to me. I do not have much time. Grandma, your father will move fast after I am gone. He will take everything he can, the archives, the designs, the narrative. What do you mean? He has been waiting for me to die, waiting to rewrite history. I do not understand. Her eyes burned with the last of her fire. I have prepared, Stephanie. Everything I could not protect while alive, I have protected for after. The safety deposit box? That, and more. She coughed, a terrible rattling sound that shook her whole body. Robert Ashford, my lawyer. He has instructions. After the funeral, he will find you. What instructions? The door, sweetheart. The door I promised you. Her eyes were closing, the effort of speaking exhausting her. Grandma, please. Just rest. Promise me. Her voice was barely audible. Promise me you will not give up. No matter what he does, I promise. Promise me you will build something beautiful, something true. I promise, Grandma. I promise. She smiled, the real smile, the one I had known since childhood. That is my girl. Her eyes closed. 3 days later, she was gone. I was there when Eleanor took her last breath. The room was quiet. No machines. Just the soft beeping of the monitor slowing, then stopping. I had been alone with her. My father was in a meeting. My mother was indisposed. Olivia did not come at all. Eleanor Lawson, founder of an architectural dynasty, died with only her granddaughter at her side, and in her final moment she had squeezed my hand. One last time. One last message. Do not give up. February 8th, 2021. St. Michael's Episcopal Church, packed with Hartford's elite, politicians, developers, architects, everyone who was anyone. They came to mourn Eleanor Lawson, matriarch of the Lawson dynasty, or rather, they came to be seen mourning. I arrived early, took a seat in the 4th row, close enough to see, far enough to breathe. When my family arrived, they walked past me without acknowledgement. Father, mother, Olivia, straight to the front row, reserved seats, family only. I was not family anymore. Not in any way that mattered. My father took the podium. Impeccable black suit, practiced grief, calculated pauses. My mother was a remarkable woman. He surveyed the crowd, making sure everyone was paying attention. She supported this family, this firm, for over 60 years. Supported, not built, not created. Supported. She was there when I founded Lawson and Partners. She believed in my vision, his firm, his legacy. My nails dug into my palms. Everything we have accomplished we owe to her quiet strength, her steady presence. Quiet, steady, invisible. Richard Lawson was eulogizing his mother and erasing her at the same time. No mention of her designs, her innovations, her stolen brilliance, just support and presence and quiet strength. The same words he used to diminish me. Movement in the front row caught my eye. My mother, Victoria, was crying. Not the delicate tears of public grief. Real crying, shoulders shaking. I had never seen her lose composure. Not once in my entire life. For a moment I wondered if she was grieving Eleanor, or herself. Then my father reached over and gripped her arm. Firm, warning. Victoria's shoulders stilled. The crying stopped. She sat up straight, dabbed her eyes, became perfect again. I watched my mother disappear behind the mask and understood something terrible. Victoria Lawson was as trapped as she had ever been. After the burial, there was a reception at the Lawson mansion. Catered food, expensive wine, empty condolences. I stood in a corner, watching strangers praise my grandmother without knowing her. Without knowing anything true about the woman who had built the empire they were all admiring. No one spoke to me. No one acknowledged my presence. I was a ghost at my own grandmother's funeral. Across the room, I saw my father speaking with a man in a charcoal suit. Distinguished, silver-haired, watching the room with sharp eyes. As if sensing my gaze, the man looked directly at me, held eye contact for a long moment, then gave a small, deliberate nod before turning away. I did not know him, but he clearly knew me, and he was waiting for something. An hour into the reception, I could not take it anymore. I slipped outside to the garden, Eleanor's garden, now frozen in February cold. I stood among dormant roses, breathing steam, fighting tears. Ms. Lawson? I turned, the silver-haired man from inside. I am sorry to intrude. My name is Robert Ashford. I was your grandmother's attorney. She told me you would find me. She told me to find you. After the funeral, away from your father. Why? Robert glanced toward the house, making sure we were not observed. Because your grandmother spent the last 10 years preparing for this moment. Preparing what? An exit strategy. For you. He reached into his coat and pulled out a sealed envelope. Red wax. Eleanor's initials pressed into the seal. She asked me to give you this. Her instructions were specific. Only to you, only after her death, only when you were alone. I took it, felt its weight. Different from the childhood envelope with the brass key, thicker, heavier, more urgent. What is inside? I do not know. She never told me. He paused, but she also gave me instructions for a trust, the Eleanor Lawson Architecture Scholarship Trust. I have never heard of it. No one has. That was the point. He paused again. You are the sole beneficiary, Ms. Lawson. When certain conditions are met, the trust activates. What conditions? That is in the envelope, I believe, along with other information your grandmother wanted you to have. Robert glanced at the house again. Ms. Lawson, I need you to understand something. Your grandmother was very clear. Your father must not know about this trust. Not yet. Why? Because if he finds out, he will try to contest it. He will claim Eleanor was not of sound mind. He will tie it up in courts for years. His eyes were serious. Your grandmother spent a decade building this protection. Do not let him tear it down before you can use it. When can I use it? When you are ready. He smiled, sad and knowing. Those were her words. You will know when. He pressed a business card into my hand. When the time comes, call me. I will help you through the legal process. Thank you for everything. Do not thank me, Ms. Lawson. Thank your grandmother. He turned to leave, then paused. She talked about you often, you know. Said you were the only one who inherited her real talent. Her real talent? The ability to build things that matter. He walked away, disappearing into the house. I stood alone in the frozen garden, holding an envelope that contained my future. I did not open it that day. The grief was too fresh, the weight too heavy. I put it in a drawer and tried to survive. It stayed sealed for 18 months. What I did not know that day. Inside the house, my father was already moving. Even before the last mourners left, Richard Lawson had his assistant drafting documents to transfer Eleanor's design portfolio to the company. Hundreds of original drawings, concepts, blueprints. By the end of the week, everything in Eleanor's home office would belong to Lawson and Partners. The erasure had already begun. The day after the funeral, my father called a family meeting. I was not invited. I heard about it later through industry gossip. Restructuring, he called it. Honoring Eleanor's legacy. In reality, consolidating power. Eleanor's home office was cleared within the week. Filing cabinets shipped to Lawson and Partners. Her personal computer wiped and donated. Decades of her work absorbed into the company archive. Under Richard's control. The will was read 2 weeks later. I received $5,000 for personal expenses. Everything else, the house, the investments, the intellectual property, went to the firm, which meant it went to Richard. Olivia was named custodian of Eleanor's design portfolio. A 22-year-old with a state school degree now controlled the life's work of an architectural pioneer. I wanted to scream, wanted to contest, wanted to fight. But Robert's words echoed. Not yet. When you are ready. So I stayed silent, watched them pick my grandmother's legacy clean, and waited. For 18 months, Eleanor's envelope sat in my drawer. Some nights I would take it out, feel its weight, put it back. I was not ready. I was surviving. Barely. The diner, the double shifts, the secret designs. All of it was survival, not strategy. I needed a sign, a moment, something to tell me the time had come. And then, August 2022, I became a competition finalist and saw Olivia parading our grandmother's stolen work. And finally understood. Ready or not, the fight was here. I sat in the bank vault, surrounded by my grandmother's legacy. The journal, the USB drive, the sealed envelopes. And now, finally understanding. Eleanor had spent decades preparing. Not just the trust, evidence, documentation, proof. The USB drive alone probably contained records of every design Richard had stolen. The journal recorded dates, meetings, conversations. This was not just protection. It was a case my grandmother had been building for 60 years. I picked up the envelope marked, "Open Second." This one was thinner, lighter. I broke the seal. Inside, a single sheet of paper and a photograph. The photograph showed Eleanor, young and radiant, standing in front of the Morrison Cultural Center on opening day, 1987. In her hands, the original blueprints. Her blueprints. The paper was a handwritten note. This is the truth they buried. This is who I was. Now show them who you are. I gathered everything from the box. The journal, the USB, the envelopes, the photograph. 60 years of hidden truth, waiting to be released. I thought of the competition, the finalist notification. I thought of Olivia's stolen designs, my father's empire built on theft. I thought of Catherine Monroe at Meridian, evaluating partnerships. All the pieces were aligning, all the doors were opening. But one envelope remained sealed. The one Robert Ashford had given me at the funeral. Open when you are ready to fly. I pulled it from my purse, felt its weight. 18 months of waiting, 18 months of survival. It was time. I gathered my grandmother's legacy and headed for my car. Whatever I found in that envelope, I was done being invisible. I sat in my car outside Hartford Savings Bank, engine off, windows up, the world muted. The contents of Box 1247 spread across my passenger seat. The journal, the USB drive, the photograph of my grandmother, young and radiant, holding the blueprints they stole from her. But in my hands, I held the envelope Robert Ashford had given me at the funeral. 18 months sealed, 18 months waiting, red wax, Eleanor's initials. The words written in her elegant script, "Open when you are ready to fly." My grandmother had known, had always known. I broke the seal. Inside was a thick stack of documents and a handwritten letter. I reached for the letter first. Eleanor's voice, one more time. "My dearest Stephanie, if you are reading this, two things have happened. I am gone, and you have reached a moment where you need more than hope. You need a weapon." My hands trembled. Everything I could not give you while alive, the protection, the resources, the truth, I have put into this package. Read carefully, act wisely, and remember, the best revenge is not destruction. It is becoming everything they said you could not be. I set the letter aside and pulled out the legal documents. The Eleanor Lawson Architecture Scholarship Trust, established March 2015, 7 years ago. Funded by royalties from Eleanor's design patents. Designs the firm never credited to her. Designs she had quietly registered under her own name, collecting payments Richard never knew existed. Current value, $2.8 million. Sole beneficiary, Stephanie Marie Lawson. I read the number 3 times. $2.8 million. My grandmother had been secretly collecting royalties for decades, building a war chest while my father built his empire on her invisible labor. But there was a catch. There was always a catch with Eleanor. She never gave gifts. She gave opportunities. Activation conditions. The trust shall become accessible to the beneficiary upon verification of one of the following. Condition A. Employment at a nationally recognized architecture firm not affiliated with Lawson and Partners. Condition B. Receipt of a major architecture award or recognition. Condition C. Admission to an accredited graduate architecture program. Eleanor had been specific. I could not just inherit the money. I had to earn it, had to prove myself, on my own terms. And the competition finalist notification sitting in my email? That was Condition B, waiting to be fulfilled. At the bottom of the trust document, a handwritten note in Eleanor's script. "I did not want to just give you money, sweetheart. I wanted to give you proof that you could succeed without them. When you meet these conditions, you will know it is real. Not luck, not charity. You." I wiped my eyes. Even from the grave, my grandmother was teaching me. I flipped to the next section of documents. Strategic Partnership Agreement, Eleanor Lawson Architecture Scholarship Trust and Meridian Development Corporation. My breath caught. Meridian, the company sponsoring the National Architecture Innovation Award, the company evaluating partnerships for Harborview Tower, the company my father was trying to work with. The documents told a story I had never known. 1982. Eleanor Lawson mentored a young architecture student named Catherine Chen. Brilliant, driven, overlooked, just like Eleanor had been 40 years earlier. Eleanor championed her, recommended her for positions, helped her land her first job when no one else would take a chance on a young Asian woman in a field dominated by old white men. They stayed in touch for 40 years. Christmas cards, phone calls, occasional lunches when Catherine passed through Hartford. Catherine Chen became Catherine Monroe through marriage in 1991, rose through the ranks of development and design, founded Meridian Development Corporation in 2003, built it into one of the largest development firms in America, and never forgot the woman who believed in her first. 2019. Eleanor, knowing she was dying, reached out to Catherine one final time. They made an arrangement. Eleanor's trust would fund a scholarship for women in architecture, administered through Meridian's foundation. And if Eleanor's granddaughter ever applied to Meridian, for a job, for an award, for anything, Catherine would personally review her case. Not to give her special treatment, Eleanor had written in a memo, but to ensure she gets a fair chance. Something my son will never allow. I sat back in the driver's seat, documents swimming before my eyes. My grandmother had not just saved money. She had built a network, a safety net I never knew existed. Catherine Monroe was not just the CEO of Meridian. She was Eleanor's protégé, her contingency plan, her final gift. The competition was not random luck. It was a door Eleanor had been building for years. One more document caught my eye, a printout of emails between Eleanor and Catherine, dated 6 months before Eleanor's death. The last one, from Catherine. I promise, Eleanor, if she is half as talented as you say, I will make sure she has a chance. And if Richard tries anything, I will have documentation ready. We both know what he is capable of. Eleanor's reply, her final message to her old friend. Thank you, old friend. She is better than I ever was. She just does not know it yet. My hands moved to the next section. A folder labeled Portfolio Submission. Stephanie Lawson. Confidential. Inside were printouts of my Yale thesis project, my senior designs. Work I had not looked at in years. Work I had almost forgotten I was capable of creating. And a cover letter. Eleanor's letterhead, dated 2019. Dear Catherine, enclosed. Please find a selection of my granddaughter's architectural work. She does not know I am sending this, and I ask that you keep it confidential for now. My chest tightened. Stephanie has talent that exceeds my own at her age, but my son has already begun his campaign to diminish her. By the time she graduates, doors will be closing. I am asking you to keep this portfolio on file. When she is ready, when she finds her way to you on her own merit, I want you to see who she really is. Not the story Richard tells. The truth. 2019. 3 years before the competition. Eleanor had sent my portfolio to Meridian while I was still in school, before the blacklist, before the diner, before any of it. My grandmother had seen the future, had prepared for the war before it began, when she finds her way to you on her own merit. Eleanor had not rigged the competition. She had just made sure I would be seen. The rest, the finalist selection, the Resilient Center design, that was all me. My grandmother had built the door. But I had walked through it myself. I sat in my car and cried, not from sadness, not from grief, from overwhelming, impossible gratitude. I had spent 2 years thinking I was alone, thinking no one believed in me, thinking I had been abandoned by everyone who should have protected me. But Eleanor had believed, had planned, had protected. Even from the grave, my grandmother was still fighting for me. At the very bottom of the portfolio folder, one final note, not from Eleanor, but from Catherine Monroe, handwritten on Meridian letterhead, dated just 2 months ago. Eleanor, I found her. She submitted to the Innovation Award. The design is extraordinary, better than anything I have seen in years. You were right. She is ready. I will make sure Richard never sees this coming. The note was addressed to a dead woman. But the message was clear. Catherine Monroe had been watching, waiting, and now she was ready to act. One more section remained in the envelope. A folder marked Documentation, Richard Lawson Communications. I opened it, already knowing what I would find. Page after page of records, phone logs with dates, times, durations, email printouts forwarded by sympathetic contacts, sworn statements from 3 HR directors who had received Richard's calls. A timeline spanning from June 2020 to the present. My father had not just made a few calls, he had run a systematic campaign. June 12, 2020. Call to Whitmore Architecture Associates, 14 minutes, June 15, 2020. Call to Chen and Associates, 9 minutes, June 18, 2020. Email to Hartford Design Collective. Concerns about a recent graduate. The list continued. 31 firms, some called multiple times. Notes from HR directors describing what my father had told them. Mr. Lawson expressed concerns about his daughter's history of theft and unreliability, recommended we not consider her application, implied there would be professional consequences for firms that hired her. Professional consequences. My father had threatened people's careers to destroy mine. A note at the bottom explained how Eleanor had obtained all this. Documentation compiled with assistance from Robert Ashford, attorney, and private investigator Marcus Webb. All materials obtained legally through FOIA requests, voluntary disclosure, and industry contacts. Eleanor had hired a private investigator, had spent money, probably thousands, documenting her own son's crimes, not for revenge, for protection, for the day I would need proof. I held the folder, feeling its weight. This was not just evidence, it was ammunition, proof that my father had systematically destroyed my career, proof that the thief label was manufactured, proof that could destroy Richard Lawson's reputation if I chose to use it. The question was when and how. The final page of the documentation folder was not evidence, it was a list. Eleanor's handwriting, shaky near the end of her life. People who know the truth and might help. Catherine Monroe at Meridian. Robert Ashford, attorney. Harold Whitmore felt guilty, might testify. David Chen wants to distance from Richard. Victoria Lawson knows everything, might break eventually. My mother's name. On a list of potential allies. Eleanor had believed Victoria might one day choose her daughter over her husband. I was not sure that was possible. But my grandmother had been right about everything else. I drove home in a daze, spread all the documents across my apartment floor. The trust, the partnership agreement, the portfolio, the evidence. Then I checked my email. Really checked it, for the first time since the finalist notification. A new message. Received 2 hours ago. Subject, National Architecture Innovation Award. Finalist interview invitation. Dear Ms. Lawson, congratulations again on being selected as a finalist. As the next stage of evaluation, we invite you to a personal interview with our judging panel at Meridian Development Corporation headquarters in New York City. Date, September 15, 2022, 3 weeks away. Time, 2 in the afternoon. Location, Meridian Tower, 47th floor. Please note, the interview panel will include senior Meridian executives, including CEO Catherine Monroe, who takes personal interest in the Innovation Award program. Catherine Monroe. Personal interest. Now I understood why. I read the email again. Then again. 3 weeks. 3 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks before I would walk into a room with the woman my grandmother had trusted most. 3 weeks before my secret project stopped being secret. Once I walked into that interview, the timeline accelerated. My father would find out. The industry would know. There was no going back. I looked around my apartment. The documents on the floor, the evidence, the trust, the laptop where I had designed the Resilience Center in stolen hours, the apron from Rosie's Diner, still hanging on a hook by the door. 2 years of survival, 2 years of invisible fighting. It was almost over. I pulled out my phone, opened my contacts, found the number Robert Ashford had given me at the funeral. Time to stop surviving. Time to start winning. Mr. Ashford, it is Stephanie Lawson. Pause. Then, I have been hoping you would call. I opened the envelope. All of it. And I am a finalist for the National Architecture Innovation Award. Interview in 3 weeks. I heard him exhale. Relief, maybe. Or satisfaction. Then the conditions are about to be met. Yes. What do you need from me? I looked at the evidence folder. The call logs, the sworn statements. I need to understand my options, all of them. Come to my office Monday. We have a lot to discuss. Thank you, Mr. Ashford. Thank your grandmother. This was always her plan. I hung up, heart pounding. 3 weeks until the interview. 3 weeks until everything changed. But first I had to do something I had been avoiding. I had to tell Elena. Not because I needed permission, because I needed someone to know, someone in my corner who was not a ghost or a lawyer, someone who had watched me survive and believed I could do more. Tomorrow morning, before my shift, I would tell Elena everything, and then I would start preparing for the fight of my life. I gathered the documents from the floor, organized them into folders, stored them somewhere safe. My grandmother had spent 60 years building this case, collecting evidence, preparing weapons, waiting for the right moment. She could not have known exactly how things would unfold, could not have predicted the specific cruelties my father would deploy, or the exact moment I would reach my breaking point. But she had known the shape of it. She had known the kind of man Richard was, the kind of trap he would try to build, and she had spent years quietly, secretly, constructing a door he could not lock. That was love, not words, not promises, action. I looked at the finalist notification on my phone. At the interview date circled in my mind, September 15th, the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning. Either way, I was done hiding. September 15th, 2022, 11:47 in the morning. The Metro North train from Hartford to Grand Central Terminal. I sat by the window, watching Connecticut blur into New York, my portfolio case on my lap containing everything I had built in secret for 2 years. I was wearing my best blazer, navy blue, secondhand from a consignment shop on Franklin Avenue. I had tailored it myself, taking in the seams until it fit like it was made for me. Professional, polished, a costume for the woman I was trying to become. 3 weeks of preparation compressed into this moment. I had practiced my presentation 47 times, could deliver it in my sleep, knew every angle of the Resilient Center design, every budget projection, every structural calculation. But my hands still trembled. I caught my reflection in the train window. 6 months ago, this same face had served breakfast to strangers, greasy aprons, aching feet, tips counted in dollar bills. Now I was riding toward the most important interview of my life. The transformation felt impossible, and yet here I was. Elena's words echoed in my mind. I had told her everything 2 weeks ago, the competition, the trust, the grandmother's preparations, all of it. She had listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from surprise to understanding to something that looked like pride. When I finished, she hugged me tight. Go get what is yours, Steph. And when you are a famous architect, do not forget us little people. I could never forget you. I know, she smiled. That is why you are going to win. The train pulled into Grand Central Terminal at 12:15. I stepped onto the platform, New York rushing around me. Noise, movement, ambition in every direction. I had 2 hours before the interview, time to walk, time to breathe, time to become the woman my grandmother believed I could be. As I walked through the main concourse, I passed a newsstand. Architecture Digest on the rack. My father's face smiled from the cover. Same issue from months ago. Richard Lawson, Building the Future. I almost looked away. Then I noticed the smaller headline beneath. Lawson and partners among finalists for Meridian Harborview Tower project. My father was competing for a partnership with Meridian, the same company about to interview me. The collision course was accelerating. Meridian Tower rose 52 stories above Midtown Manhattan, glass and steel and ambition made physical. I stood on the sidewalk looking up until my neck ached. The building was a statement, bold lines, innovative angles, sustainable design that did not sacrifice beauty for function. This was what architecture could be, what I wanted to create, what my grandmother had spent her life building, even when no one knew her name. A security guard held the lobby door. Welcome to Meridian, ma'am. Ma'am, not honey or sweetheart or waitress. Small dignity, but it mattered. Inside, the atrium soared 5 stories high. Natural light cascaded from skylights, warming the marble floors. A wall of awards and accolades. Magazine covers, project photographs. Meridian had built hospitals in Singapore, cultural centers in Dubai, affordable housing in Detroit. They did not just build for profit, they built with purpose. No wonder my grandmother had trusted Catherine Monroe. The elevator rose, Manhattan shrinking below. My ears popped, my stomach fluttered. 30 seconds to compose myself. 30 seconds to remember who I was and why I was here. The doors opened on the 47th floor. A receptionist smiled. "Ms. Lawson, they are expecting you." The executive waiting area was everything my apartment was not. Leather chairs that probably cost more than my car. Fresh flowers in crystal vases. Art on the walls that belonged in museums. 4 other candidates already waited. 3 men in expensive suits, checking phones, radiating confidence. 1 woman with a Yale architecture tote bag, studying her notes with the intensity of someone who had something to prove. They glanced at me, assessed my consignment shop blazer, looked away. I did not belong here, not in their eyes. But I had learned something in 2 years of waiting tables. The people who underestimate you are always the most surprised when you win. One of the men looked familiar, tall, Asian, early 30s. Something about his face triggered recognition. Then it clicked. Marcus Chen, son of David Chen, partner at Chen and Associates. One of the firms that had rejected me, one of the firms my father had called. Marcus met my eyes. Recognition flickered, then something else. Guilt, maybe, or curiosity. He looked away first. A young Meridian staffer approached with a glass of water. As he handed it to me, he leaned in slightly. "Ms. Monroe asked me to tell you. Your grandmother would be proud." Then he walked away before I could respond. How did he know about my grandmother? How many people at Meridian knew the real story? The web Eleanor had woven was larger than I had imagined. "Ms. Lawson? They are ready for you." I gathered my portfolio, stood, walked toward the conference room door. Inside, floor-to-ceiling windows framed Manhattan like a painting. Long mahogany table. 5 executives already seated reviewing documents. At the head of the table, an empty chair. "Please, Ms. Lawson, have a seat. Ms. Monroe will join us shortly." The panel introduced themselves. James Morrison, VP of Development, Sarah Okonkwo, Director of Sustainable Design, David Park, Chief Innovation Officer, Linda Vasquez, Head of Community Projects. Each had reviewed my submission. Each had questions. "Tell us about the Resilience Center concept." I opened my portfolio. 2 years of survival, compressed into drawings and specifications. The Resilience Center is designed for people in transition. I kept my voice steady, confident. Single mothers returning to the workforce, veterans reintegrating into civilian life, elderly seeking connection without condescension. I walked them through every choice. Natural light in every room. Because dignity requires illumination. Because I knew what it felt like to work in spaces where the sun never reached. Open sightlines with private corners. Because community and solitude must coexist. Sometimes you need to be seen. Sometimes you need to hide. Childcare adjacent to job training. Because real support addresses real logistics. Because I had watched single mothers at the diner juggle impossible schedules, leaving children with strangers so they could learn skills that might lift them out of poverty. Modular construction for cost efficiency. Because beauty should not require unlimited budgets. Because the people who need these spaces deserve architecture that respects their circumstances. LEED Platinum standards. Because sustainability is not optional, it is ethical. The panel leaned forward, engaged, interested. Your budget projections are aggressive. How confident are you? I have worked service industry for 2 years. I know what aggressive budgets actually look like in practice. The community integration model. Where did that come from? From watching people. At a diner where I worked, I saw what happens when someone just needs to be seen. The building should do that work automatically. This is graduate-level thinking. Why have we not seen your name before? I paused. The truth was complicated. Sometimes talent gets overlooked. I am hoping Meridian sees things others missed. Sarah Okonkwo smiled slightly. We are aware of the circumstances surrounding your career path. My heart stuttered. Your grandmother made sure of that. Before I could respond, the door opened. Catherine Monroe entered, and everything shifted. The executive straightened. The air changed. This was not just a CEO walking in. This was the woman who had built Meridian from nothing, who had broken every ceiling in architecture, who had been my grandmother's protege 40 years ago, 58 years old, silver hair cropped short, charcoal suit impeccable. She moved with the confidence of someone who had earned every inch of her position. She looked at me with eyes that had seen everything. Ms. Lawson. Her voice was low, measured. I have been waiting a long time to meet you. Leave us, please. She said it to the panel, not cold, just certain. They filed out without question. Catherine sat across from me. Just the two of us now. I apologize for the theater. But some conversations should not have an audience. Your grandmother saved my career. Did you know that? I read about it, in the documents she left. Then you know I owe her everything. Catherine's voice softened. 1982. I was 22, just out of architecture school. Brilliant, I thought. The world disagreed. What happened? What always happened then? I was a woman. I was Asian. I was too ambitious and not a culture fit. She smiled, bitter and fond. Eleanor found me crying in a bathroom after my 15th rejection. She handed me tissues and said, "Anyone who makes you cry in a bathroom is not worth your tears. Come work with me instead. That sounds like Grandma. She taught me everything, not just design. How to survive. How to build when everyone wants you to fail." Catherine reached into her briefcase and pulled out a folder. "She sent me your work years ago, before your father's campaign, before any of this. I had seen this in the documents, but hearing it from Catherine made it real. She believed in you absolutely. Said you had her talent but better instincts." Catherine opened the folder. The call logs, the sworn statements, the evidence of Richard's sabotage. She also sent me this. Every call your father made, every lie he told. I know, I have copies. Good. Catherine's eyes hardened. Because your father contacted Meridian too. 2 years ago, tried to blacklist you here. What happened? I documented the call, thanked him for his concern, and put your file at the top of my personal review stack. She leaned forward. Your father thinks he controls this industry, Ms. Lawson. He is about to learn otherwise. Your resilient center design is extraordinary. The panel agrees. You are the strongest candidate. My breath caught. But I am not just offering you the Innovation Award. What do you mean? Catherine smiled. Eleanor's smile passed down through decades of mentorship. I am offering you a job. She slid a document across the table. A formal offer letter, already prepared. Lead architect, Harborview Tower Project. Starting salary, $180,000 annually. Full benefits, creative autonomy. I stared at the paper. Harborview Tower. The project my father was competing to join. I do not understand. This is the project Lawson and Partners is pitching for. Yes, it is. And if you accept this position, you will be the one deciding whether they get the contract. I stared at the offer letter. Lead architect, $180,000, Harborview Tower. More than I had made in 2 years combined at Rosie's Diner. More than I had dared to dream. Why? My voice cracked. Why go this far for me? Because your grandmother asked me to, because you have earned it. And because... Catherine paused, something shifting in her expression. Because 40 years ago, Eleanor gave me a chance no one else would. She did not do it for gratitude or repayment. She did it because it was right. She saw what I could become before I saw it myself. Catherine's voice was thick with old emotion. I am not doing you a favor, Ms. Lawson. I am continuing a legacy. The way Eleanor would have wanted. There are conditions, of course. Of course. You will need to meet with our legal team. The trust your grandmother established. The activation conditions will be satisfied by this employment. $2.8 million. I said it aloud, still not believing. It is yours. Eleanor made sure of that. And the evidence? The call logs? Catherine's expression cooled. That is your decision. You can release it publicly, pursue legal action, or keep it private. What would you do? I would wait. Use it strategically. Your father does not know what you have. That is an advantage. Do not waste it. I looked at the offer letter one more time. Lead architect, Harborview Tower, the project my father wanted. This was not just a job. It was a position, a platform, a door. Yes, I said. I accept. Catherine smiled. Not triumphant, just satisfied, just right. Welcome to Meridian, Ms. Lawson. She extended her hand. I shook it. Her grip was firm, warm. Your grandmother would be proud. I hope so. I know so. Now, let us talk about what happens next. Catherine outlined the timeline. Start date, October 1st. First task, review Harborview Tower contractor applications, including Lawson and Partners bid. You do not have to recuse yourself, but you should know. This will put you directly in your father's path. I know. Are you ready for that? I thought of 2 years of rejection. The diner, the humiliation, the silence. I have been ready my whole life. I left Meridian Tower at 4:47 in the afternoon. The sun was setting over Manhattan, painting the skyline gold. In my bag, a signed offer letter, a copy of the trust activation documents, the phone number of Meridian's legal team. In my heart, something I had not felt in years. Hope, real hope, earned hope. I pulled out my phone and called Elena. How did it go? I laughed, actually laughed for the first time in months. I got the job. I am going to be an architect. Elena's scream of joy was audible across the street. I knew it. I knew it. I wiped my eyes, smiling. There is more. I will explain everything. But Elena, thank you for believing in me when I could not. Always, honey, always. I hung up, looked back at Meridian Tower. In 3 weeks I would be working there. In less time than that, my father would find out. The war was not over, but for the first time, I was fighting from a position of strength. October 3rd, 2022, third day at Meridian Development Corporation. I stood outside my office door for 5 minutes, just staring at the nameplate. Stephanie Lawson, lead architect, Harborview Tower project. My name, on a door, in a real architecture firm. 2 years of serving breakfast, and now this. The office was small but mine. 14th floor, corner window with a view of the East River, a desk covered with blueprints, contractor bids, feasibility studies. Real work. Architecture work. The kind of work I had trained 6 years for and spent 2 years dreaming about. Harborview Tower was massive. 42 stories of mixed-use development in Lower Manhattan. Residential units, commercial spaces, community areas. Budget $340 million. Timeline 3 years. It was the biggest project of my career. My only project, technically. But I was ready. I had been preparing my whole life. I was not alone. Meridian had assigned me a small team. 2 junior architects fresh from Columbia, eager and talented, and looking at me like I had answers. A project coordinator named Diane, who had been with Meridian for 15 years and knew where all the bodies were buried. And a senior consultant who made my stomach clench every time I saw him. Marcus Chen. The same Marcus Chen from the waiting room. David Chen's son. The same family that had rejected me 2 years ago because my father told them I was a thief. Awkward did not begin to cover it. The day before, Robert Ashford had called with news that still did not feel real. The trust is officially activated. Funds are accessible whenever you need them. $2.8 million. In my name. Untouchable by my father. I had not touched it yet. Did not know how to think about money like that. But knowing it was there changed everything. I was not desperate anymore. I had options. Options my father did not know about. That morning, I reviewed the list of contractor applications for Harborview Tower. 17 firms competing for subcontractor positions, structural engineering, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, all the pieces that would turn my designs into reality. And there, on page 12, Lawson and Partners Architecture. Application filed September 28th, 3 days before I started. My father had applied blind, competing for a contract that would now cross my desk. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. Mid-morning, Marcus Chen appeared at my office door. Coffee? I know a place downstairs that does not taste like burnt tires. I hesitated. The Chen family had rejected me, been part of the blacklist. But Marcus's eyes held something I recognized. Guilt. Sure, coffee sounds good. We found a quiet corner in the building's cafe. Exposed brick walls, soft jazz playing. The kind of place where serious conversations happened over expensive espresso. Marcus stirred his cup without drinking, not meeting my eyes. I need to tell you something. Before we work together. Okay. Your father called my father. 2 years ago, about you. My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. I know, you know. I know about all the calls. 31 firms, including Chen and Associates. Marcus exhaled, relief and shame mixing on his face. My father believed him, said you were too risky to hire. And you? I was not sure. I had seen your portfolio at school. We overlapped at Yale for a year. You were brilliant. He finally looked at me. But family loyalty is complicated. I told myself it was not my business. And now I am watching you review your own father's contract application. He almost smiled. And I am thinking maybe I should have asked more questions. Why are you telling me this? Because I was wrong. Because my silence made me complicit. Marcus set down his cup. And because whatever you are planning, and you are definitely planning something, I want to help. Why would you help me? Because your grandmother was right about you. And because watching Richard Lawson lose would be the most satisfying thing I have seen in years. I studied him, looking for the trap. I did not find one. Welcome to the team, Marcus. As we walked back to the elevator, Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. That is weird. What? My father just texted. Says Richard Lawson is asking questions about Meridian's new hires. He looked at me, understanding dawning. He does not know you are here yet, does he? No. He is about to find out. That afternoon, I sat in a conference room with Diane. 17 contractor applications spread across the table, reviewing qualifications, portfolios, pricing structures. Lawson and Partners' application sat in the middle of the stack. I had not opened it yet. Was not sure I could be objective. My desk phone rang. Internal line. Ms. Lawson, this is reception. There is a gentleman here demanding to see you. Demanding? He says he is your father. He is quite insistent. My stomach dropped through the floor. Did he give a name? Richard Lawson, from Lawson and Partners. The collision had arrived. Diane looked up from the applications. Everything okay? My father is in the lobby. Your father? Her eyes widened. Richard Lawson is your father? It is complicated. Should I call security? I considered it. The easy path. Have him escorted out. Avoid the confrontation for another day. But that would only delay the inevitable. And I was done hiding. Number 1, I will see him. But book a private meeting room. I do not want an audience for this. I took the elevator down alone, 30 floors to compose myself, to prepare. My father did not know about the evidence, the trust, Catherine's support. He thought he was confronting the same vulnerable girl he had blacklisted 2 years ago. He was wrong. The elevator doors opened. Richard Lawson stood in the Meridian lobby, red-faced, barely contained. His suit was immaculate. His expression was not. Stephanie, he said my name like an accusation. Hello, Dad. I kept my voice neutral. Professional. Let us talk somewhere private. As I led him toward the meeting room, I caught movement from the corner of my eye. Catherine Monroe, watching from the mezzanine above. Our eyes met briefly. She gave an almost imperceptible nod. Support, or perhaps warning. Then she turned away. I was not alone in this. But the next conversation I had to handle myself. Private conference room, 12th floor, glass walls frosted for privacy, soundproofed. I sat on one side of the table, Richard on the other. The polished wood between us felt like a battlefield. How? His voice was tight with controlled fury. How did you get this job? I applied, I interviewed, I was hired. That is impossible, I made sure. He stopped, realized what he had admitted. You made sure of what, Dad? His jaw worked. Calculating. I was protecting you, protecting our family's reputation. By telling everyone I was a thief? You needed to learn. I learned plenty. My voice was ice. I learned that my father would rather destroy me than see me succeed without him. That is not. I have documentation, Dad. Every call you made, every lie you told, sworn statements from HR directors. Richard went pale. The first time I had ever seen him lose color. Where did you, Grandma? She knew exactly what you were, and she made sure I would have proof. Silence, long and heavy. When he spoke again, his voice had changed, softer, almost paternal, which made it worse. Stephanie, this has gone too far, both of us, has it? I was harsh. I see that now. He leaned forward, earnest and reasonable. But we are family. We can fix this. Fix this how? Come home. I will announce you as co-lead of the firm, alongside Olivia. Equal partners. And the Harborview contract? His smile flickered. Caught. That too. You recommend us, we get the contract, and we all win. Family reunited, business thriving. So this is about the contract. It is about everything. The contract, the family, your future. My future that you spent 2 years trying to destroy. I stood. No. Stephanie, I do not need your name anymore, Dad. And I never needed your approval. Richard's mask slipped. The soft voice vanished. You think you have won? Because you got one job at one company? I think I have built something you cannot touch. I built this industry. He was shouting now, veins visible in his neck. One word from me and your little career is over. Again. I did not flinch. Try it. See what happens. You have no idea what I am capable of. Actually, Dad, I do. I walked to the door. I have it all documented. I paused at the threshold, turned back. The contractor applications are being reviewed this week. Lawson and Partners will be evaluated on merit. Nothing more, nothing less. You would not dare. I am not going to sabotage you, Dad. That is your playbook, not mine. I opened the door. But I am not going to save you either. You will stand or fall on your own work. Stephanie, goodbye, Dad. I walked out, did not look back. My hands were shaking, but my voice had not wavered once. I made it to the elevator before my legs gave out. Leaned against the wall, breathing hard, replaying every word. I had done it. Faced him and refused to break. But as the adrenaline faded, a cold realization settled in. My father had looked genuinely shocked when I mentioned the documentation. He had not known about Eleanor's preparations, which meant he was scrambling now. Desperate, and desperate people did desperate things. Back in my office, door closed, I sat at my desk, staring at nothing. A knock. Catherine Monroe entered without waiting. I heard. The whole building probably heard. Only the parts that matter. She sat across from me. How are you? I do not know. Terrified, relieved, angry. All appropriate responses. He tried to bribe me. Co-lead of the firm if I gave him the contract. And you said no. I said no. Catherine smiled. Proud, almost maternal. Eleanor would have loved that. He is not going to stop. No, he is not. What do I do? You do your job. You evaluate contractors fairly. You build something extraordinary. Catherine stood, moved to the door. And you let me handle Richard. What are you going to do? Nothing yet. But if he tries anything. Her eyes hardened. Meridian has resources he cannot imagine. And I have been waiting 40 years to repay your grandmother's kindness. This feels like war. It has been war for a long time, Stephanie. You are just finally fighting back." After Catherine left, I checked my phone. A new email. From an address I did not recognize. Subject line: "We need to talk. Alone." The message was brief. "Steph, I know we have not spoken in years. And I know you have no reason to trust me, but there are things happening you do not know about. Things about Dad. I cannot say more in writing. Meet me tomorrow, just us. Please, it is important. Signed with a single letter. O. Olivia." My sister had never reached out. Had always been our father's loyal soldier. The golden child. The favorite. What had changed? Another knock. Marcus looking worried. Something is happening. What now? Lawson and Partners just filed an urgent meeting request with Meridian's board of directors. A board meeting? Emergency session, tomorrow afternoon. He checked his phone. The request is citing concerns about conflicts of interest in the Harborview Tower evaluation process. He is trying to get me removed. He is trying to discredit you before you can review his application. I looked at Olivia's email, then at Marcus. He is not the only one with moves to make. I sat in my office as the sun set over Manhattan, 2 paths forward, 2 potential allies, 2 impossible choices. Olivia's email glowed on my screen. There are things happening you do not know about. My father's board meeting loomed. Conflicts of interest. I thought about Eleanor's evidence folder, the call logs, the sworn statements. I had promised Catherine I would wait. Use it strategically. But my father was forcing my hand, accelerating the timeline. If he went to the board tomorrow, I would have to respond. And that response would change everything. I picked up my phone, typed a reply to Olivia. "Tomorrow, 7 in the evening, Rosie's Diner, Hartford. Just us. If Olivia had information, I needed it before the board meeting. If it was a trap, at least I would know where I stood." I hit send. Then I opened the evidence folder and started preparing for war. October 4th, 2022, 6:47 in the evening. Rosie's Diner, Hartford. I sat in the back booth, nursing cold coffee, watching the door. Elena had given me the night off without asking questions, just squeezed my hand and said, "Be careful." The bell over the door chimed. Olivia walked in. I almost did not recognize my sister. Gone was the polished golden child from Instagram, the designer clothes and perfect makeup and confident smile that had haunted me for years. Olivia looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back carelessly, shoulders hunched like she was carrying something heavy. She spotted me, hesitated, then walked over and slid into the booth across from me. "Thank you for meeting me." I almost did not, I know. Her voice cracked. "I would not have blamed you." We sat in silence for a moment, 2 sisters who had not really talked in years, separated by favoritism and manipulation and a father who had turned us into rivals instead of allies. "Why are you here, Olivia? What could you not say in writing?" Olivia looked around the diner, making sure no one was listening. Her hands trembled around her coffee cup. "Dad has been using me, for years. Everything I have been credited for, every design, every project, every award, it is not mine." My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. "What do you mean, not yours? I mean, I did not design any of it." Olivia's eyes filled with tears. He took Grandma's archive after she died. Her unrealized concepts, her shelved projects. He has been giving them to me, telling me to present them as my own. The Hartford Civic Center submission. Grandma's design from 1994. I found the original in the archive. He told me to update the renderings and put my name on it. "And you did it?" Olivia's face crumpled. I did not know how to say no. "You did not know how to say no?" "Olivia, you have been parading stolen work for years. You think I wanted this?" Her voice rose, then dropped. "You got to leave, Steph. You got to walk away. I never had that option. You had every option. You were the favorite. The favorite." Olivia laughed bitterly. "Do you know what that means? It means every moment of my life has been managed, controlled, scripted." She leaned forward, eyes burning with something I had never seen from her before. Desperation. Dad chose my major. Dad chose my career. Dad chose which projects I would design. He even chose who I was supposed to marry before I broke it off. Preston Hartwell. You knew about that? I know about a lot of things now. Silence stretched between us. I studied my sister's face, looking for the trap, looking for the manipulation. All I saw was exhaustion, and something that looked like relief. Olivia reached into her bag and pulled out a thick folder. I have been collecting this for months, since I realized what he was doing. She slid it across the table. Inside, side-by-side comparisons. Eleanor's original blueprints dated 1970s through 1990s. Lawson and Partners' new designs from 2020 through 2022. Identical. Line for line. He has been stealing from Grandma since before we were born. Olivia's voice was hollow. And he is still doing it. Why are you giving this to me? Because I am tired, Steph. Her voice broke. I am tired of being his puppet, his trophy, his lie. What do you want me to do with it? Olivia met my eyes. The first honest eye contact we had shared in years. I want you to end it. As I flipped through the evidence, one document caught my attention. A formal cease and desist letter, never sent. Dated 2018, from Eleanor's lawyer Robert Ashford, threatening legal action against Lawson and Partners for unauthorized use of proprietary designs. Eleanor had known, had prepared to fight, and then died before she could act. The question was, who had stopped her? I set down the folder. Why did you not tell me before? Any of this? Because I was scared, because I believed him when he said you were the problem. Olivia wiped her eyes. He told me you were jealous, unstable, that the thief story was true, and you believed him. I wanted to believe him. It was easier than admitting my whole life was built on his lies. Something shifted in my chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. He manipulated both of us, just in different ways. You, he tried to break. Me, he tried to own. Olivia's voice hardened. I do not know which is worse. There is something else. Olivia leaned forward. The board meeting tomorrow. Dad's conflict of interest complaint. You know about that? I helped him draft it. Shame crossed her face. Before I decided to contact you, what is his strategy? He is going to accuse you of personal vendetta. Say you cannot be objective because of family estrangement. He wants you removed from Harborview entirely. And if that does not work, he will claim Meridian is biased. Try to tank the whole partnership. I processed this. My father would rather destroy everything than lose control. There is one thing he does not know, Olivia said quietly. What? Mom is going to be there. Mom, why would Mom be at a Meridian board meeting? Because I told her everything. Last night. I stared at my sister. You told Mom about the stolen designs? I told her everything. About Grandma's archive. About what Dad did to you. About what he has been doing to me. And? Olivia's eyes glistened. She cried for 3 hours. Then she said something I have never heard her say before. What? It is time this family told the truth. I did not know what to make of this. Victoria had been silent her entire life, complicit through passivity. Why would she speak now, unless Eleanor had planted something else, a contingency even I did not know about? Olivia, did Grandma ever give Mom anything? Documents? Instructions? Olivia nodded slowly. A sealed envelope. Mom has had it for 3 years. She never told Dad it existed. October 5th, 2022, 2 in the afternoon. Meridian Tower, 50th floor. The boardroom was everything a boardroom should be. Mahogany table for 20. Windows overlooking Manhattan. Gravity in every inch of air. I sat beside Catherine Monroe, Marcus Chen on my other side, quiet support. Across the table, Richard Lawson, flanked by 2 corporate lawyers in identical gray suits. And in the corner, almost invisible, Victoria Lawson, my mother, present for the first time in my memory. The Meridian Board consisted of 7 members, all watching with carefully neutral expressions. Chairman Harold Webb, 68 years old, had built his career on reading rooms. He had known Eleanor, I had learned, respected her. This emergency session was requested by Lawson and Partners regarding concerns about the Harborview Tower evaluation process. Webb's voice was measured. "Mr. Lawson, you have the floor." Richard stood, smoothing his tie. In his element. "Thank you, Chairman Webb. I appreciate the board's time." My father surveyed the room, confident, commanding, the performance of a lifetime. "My concern is simple. Meridian has assigned my daughter, Stephanie Lawson, to evaluate contractor applications for Harborview Tower, including my firm's application, murmurs around the table. This represents a clear conflict of interest. Ms. Lawson and I have a complicated family history, personal grievances that could compromise her objectivity." He spread his hands. "Reasonable, paternal. I am not asking for special treatment. I am asking for fairness. A neutral evaluator. That is all." Chairman Webb turned to Catherine. "Ms. Monroe?" Response? Catherine's expression did not flicker. "We anticipated this concern, Chairman, which is why we have prepared a presentation addressing Mr. Lawson's history with our organization." Richard's smile faltered. "Just slightly. I am sorry. What history?" Catherine pressed a button. The boardroom screen illuminated. The first slide appeared. Documentation of professional misconduct. Richard Lawson. Richard went pale. "What is this?" "This, Mr. Lawson, is why your daughter is not the one with the conflict of interest." Catherine's voice was ice. "You are." The screen showed side-by-side comparisons. Left, Eleanor Lawson's original blueprints, dated 1970s through 1990s. Right, Lawson and Partners' new designs, dated 2020 through 2022. Identical. These are designs created by Eleanor Lawson over a 40-year career. Catherine's voice carried through the silent room. "And these are designs Lawson and Partners has presented as original work, submitted by Olivia Lawson and credited to the firm." The boardroom was absolutely still. Eleanor Lawson was my mentor. She documented everything, including the systematic theft of her intellectual property by her own son. Catherine clicked to the next slide. Phone records, dates, times, names. Additionally, we have documentation of 31 phone calls made by Richard Lawson to architecture firms across New England. Each call contained false statements about his daughter Stephanie, calling her a thief, unreliable, a family disgrace. She looked directly at Richard. This was not a complicated family history. This was a coordinated campaign to destroy a competitor's career, because she refused to be controlled. Richard's face had gone from pale to purple. "This is slander. This is, you cannot. We have sworn statements from 3 HR directors. We have email records. We have everything, Mr. Lawson." Richard slammed his hand on the table. "That old woman was stealing from me. I built that company. I built that legacy. Everything she had, I gave her." The room went dead silent. She was my assistant, my helper. She did not create anything. He caught himself. Too late. The board members' faces had shifted from neutral to horrified. He had just admitted it. Publicly. On record. "Your assistant?" Catherine's voice was quiet. Deadly. Eleanor Lawson founded that company in 1962. She designed the Morrison Cultural Center, the Hartford Civic Complex, the Riverside Museum. Every landmark building your firm is known for. She created. That is a lie. It is documented, Mr. Lawson. Every blueprint, every concept, every line of work your career is built on. It was hers. Richard turned to me, wild-eyed. "This is your doing. You and your grandmother, conspiring against me." "Grandma died 2 years ago, Dad." My voice was steady. "She is not conspiring. She is just finally being heard." Richard turned to his lawyers, desperate. "Say something. This is defamation. We will sue." One of the lawyers leaned away, visibly distancing himself. "Mr. Lawson, I would advise against further statements." The other was already gathering his papers. Richard Lawson, for the first time in his life, was completely alone. In the chaos, no one noticed Victoria stand. Until she spoke. "That is enough, Richard." The room went silent. Richard spun toward his wife. "Victoria, sit down." "No." Her voice was quiet but unshakable. "I have been sitting down for 30 years. I am done." She walked forward, past the lawyers, past the board members, until she stood in the center of the room. I had never seen my mother like this. Spine straight, eyes clear, present. Everything Catherine Monroe said is true. I have known for decades. Victoria's voice cracked but held. I watched Eleanor design buildings that Richard took credit for. I watched him erase her from her own legacy. I watched him do the same thing to our daughter. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. I was too afraid to stop it. I told myself it was not my place. I told myself the girls would be fine. "Victoria." Richard's voice was warning, threatening. I was wrong. She turned back to him. "I was a coward, and I am done." Victoria reached into her purse, pulled out a sealed envelope. Red wax, Eleanor's initials. "Eleanor gave this to me 3 years ago. Made me promise to use it when the truth needed protection." She broke the seal. Inside, a single document. "This is a prenuptial agreement, signed by Richard Lawson in 1989. Eleanor insisted on it when Richard took over the firm." Victoria read aloud. "In the event that Richard Lawson claims sole credit for designs created by Eleanor Lawson, or obstructs the careers of her descendants, all shares of Lawson and Partners held in the Lawson Family Trust shall revert to a charitable foundation." The room was absolutely still. The designs Richard stole, they triggered this clause. His shares are frozen, effective immediately. Richard staggered backward. "You cannot. That document is not. Mother would not. Eleanor knew exactly who you were, Richard." Victoria's voice hardened. "She loved you anyway. But she protected her legacy, and her granddaughter." Richard looked around the room, at the board members avoiding his eyes, at his lawyers backing away, at his wife standing against him, at his daughter watching him fall. For the first time, I saw my father without his armor, and underneath was nothing but smallness. "This meeting is adjourned." Chairman Webb's voice was quiet. "Lawson and Partners' application is withdrawn from consideration pending legal review." Richard said nothing, just walked toward the door. At the threshold, he turned back, looked at me. "You have destroyed this family." "No, Dad." My voice was steady. "You did that years ago. I am just telling the truth." He left without another word. His lawyers followed. Victoria stayed. After Richard left, my mother approached me slowly. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I am so sorry I did not protect you. I did not know what to say." 30 years of silence could not be erased with one word. But Victoria had stood up, finally. "It is a start, Mom." Victoria nodded, tears falling. "It is a start." The board members filed out quietly. Catherine remained, watching me with something like pride. "Your grandmother planned this for 30 years. I know, she would have loved seeing that." "I wish she could have." Catherine squeezed my shoulder. She saw it. "Trust me." She saw it. Olivia approached. Tentative. "I did not know about Mom's document. I swear, I believe you. What happens now?" I looked at my sister. Really looked. Saw the exhaustion, the relief, the fear. "Now we figure out who we are without him." Olivia nodded slowly. "I do not know how to do that." "Neither do I." I almost smiled. "But at least we are not doing it alone." I left Meridian Tower at 5:17 in the afternoon. My father's empire was crumbling. My mother had finally spoken. My sister was no longer my enemy. And somehow I could feel my grandmother smiling. But as I stepped onto the sidewalk, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Congratulations on the victory." But this is not over. Richard has one more card to play. Watch your back. A friend. I stared at the message. Who was warning me? And what card did my father have left? I looked back at Meridian Tower, then at the city stretching before me. The war was not over, but for the first time, I was winning, and I was not going to stop until it was finished. January 15th, 2023. I stood on the 42nd floor of Harborview Tower, wind whipping through the open construction site, Manhattan sprawling below like a circuit board of dreams and ambition. My building, my design, my name on the blueprints. 3 months since the board meeting, 3 months since everything changed. Construction scaffolding still surrounded the structure, but the bones were there, steel and glass and purpose, rising from the foundation I had designed in stolen hours between waitressing shifts. The mixed-use development had been praised in Architecture Digest the week before, the same magazine that had once featured only my father, a bold vision for urban community, they called it. I had cut out the article, kept it in my desk drawer, not for pride, for proof that I had built something real. The fallout from the board meeting had been swift and merciless. Richard Lawson's empire crumbled faster than anyone expected. 3 major contracts canceled within weeks. Partners who had built their reputations alongside him distanced themselves publicly. The industry that had once revered him now whispered about him in past tense. Lawson and Partners filed for restructuring in December. The firm that had defined Hartford architecture for 60 years was now a cautionary tale about what happens when you build your legacy on someone else's stolen work. My father had not contacted me since that day in the boardroom. I did not expect him to. Some bridges burned so completely that nothing remains but ash. The anonymous warning about Richard's one more card never materialized. Maybe he had been bluffing. Maybe the exposure had been too complete. Or maybe someone I would never know had quietly neutralized whatever threat remained. I had stopped waiting for the other shoe to drop. Some mysteries did not need solving. Some doors could stay closed. Last week, I received a letter. No return address. Inside, a single photograph of Eleanor at a groundbreaking ceremony in 1975, shovel in hand, smile radiant. The kind of smile that belonged to someone who knew they were building something that mattered. On the back, handwritten words I did not recognize. She would have been so proud. Thank you for finishing what she started. Eleanor's allies were still out there, still watching, still protecting her legacy. Victoria Lawson filed for divorce in November. After 32 years of marriage, she was finally free. She moved into a small apartment in New Haven, near where Eleanor used to live. I visited her last week, not knowing what to expect. The woman who answered the door looked different, lighter, present in a way I had never seen. I am learning to cook, she said, almost shy. Your grandmother always said I relied too much on caterers. We had tea, talked about nothing important, everything important. It was not forgiveness, not yet. But it was beginning. How is Mom? Olivia's voice came through the phone a few days later, tentative. Better. She is taking a pottery class. Pottery? Olivia laughed, a real laugh, something I had not heard in years. Mom? I know, I could not believe it either. Silence. Comfortable now, not awkward. I started therapy, Olivia said quietly. Twice a week. How is it? Hard, good, necessary. I am proud of you. I have not earned that yet. You are trying. That counts. Olivia had left Lawson and Partners before the restructuring. She was working at a small design firm now, entry level, earning her own credentials for the first time in her life. It is humbling, she admitted. Starting over at 24. Better than never starting at all. We were not close yet. Years of distance could not be erased in months. But we texted now. Called sometimes, showed up for each other in small ways that mattered. I had invited Olivia to the Harborview Tower opening in March. I would like that, she said. If you are sure, I am sure. Family, I was learning, was not about blood. It was about choice, and I was choosing to rebuild. Richard had tried to contact Olivia twice. Both times she declined. Victoria received a letter from his lawyers contesting the divorce terms. She forwarded it to Robert Ashford without responding. I had not heard from my father at all. That silence was its own kind of answer. I did not hate him. Hate required too much energy. I had simply moved on. Built a life where he had no power. That was the real victory. The Eleanor Lawson Foundation for Women in Architecture launched last month. I used part of the trust fund, $500,000, to endow the first round of scholarships. 10 women would receive funding this year. 10 more doors opening, 10 more chances Eleanor never had. The announcement made national news. Somewhere, I hoped, my grandmother was smiling. Standing on the 42nd floor, wind cutting through my jacket, a memory came unbidden. Summer of 2005. I was 10 years old. Grandmother Eleanor's brownstone in New Haven. A hot August evening. Fireflies beginning to blink in the garden below. Eleanor had taken me up to her roof. A flat section with lawn chairs and potted plants, and a view of the city she had helped build. "My secret place," she said. "Where I come to think." We sat together, watching the sun set over New Haven. Orange and pink and gold, painting the buildings like a watercolor. "Grandma, why do you like buildings so much?" she smiled, the patient smile she saved for real questions. "Because buildings outlast us, sweetheart. Long after we are gone, the spaces we create keep holding people, keep sheltering them, keep mattering. But what if no one knows you made them?" Eleanor looked at me then, really looked, the way adults rarely look at children. "Is that what you are worried about? Credit?" "I do not know. Maybe. Let me tell you a secret." She leaned close. "The best things I have ever built, no one knows my name is attached to them. And that used to hurt. It used to feel like theft. Does it not still? Sometimes. But then I walk past those buildings. I see people going in and out, living their lives, finding shelter. Her eyes were bright, and I think I gave them that. Whether they know it or not, my hands, my mind, my love, it is in those walls. That is what matters." "Grandma?" "Yes, sweetheart. Someday I want to build something too. Something that matters." Eleanor pulled me close, kissed the top of my head. "You will, my girl. You will build something taller than any of these buildings. Taller than skyscrapers?" She laughed, maybe not taller in feet, but taller in meaning. She pointed at the horizon, at the buildings catching the last light. "Someday you will stand on top of something you built, and when you do, you will remember this moment." "I will. You will. And you will know you flew. Not because someone carried you, because you refused to crawl." I blinked. The memory faded. I was back on the 42nd floor of Harborview Tower, 27 years old, lead architect, standing in my own building. My grandmother's voice echoed across 18 years. "You will fly, because you refused to crawl." I had crawled. For 2 years I had crawled, but now I was flying. I pulled out my phone, opened the photograph of Eleanor at the groundbreaking ceremony. "I did it, Grandma." I whispered to the empty construction site. I built something that matters. The wind answered, cold and clean. It felt like a blessing. That Sunday, I drove to Greenwood Cemetery. Gray January sky, bare trees, quiet roads. I stopped at a florist, bought yellow roses, Eleanor's favorite, always had been. Her headstone was simple, granite, clean lines, the kind of understated elegance she had brought to everything she designed. Eleanor Margaret Lawson, 1940 through 2021. She built more than buildings. I knelt, placed the roses against the cold stone. "Hey, Grandma." The wind stirred the bare branches. "I brought you flowers." And news. Silence. Just the sound of winter. "The foundation is up and running. 10 scholarships this year." I smiled. "Mom is taking pottery classes. Can you believe it? Olivia is in therapy. We are working on it." I paused. This part was harder. Dad's company is gone. I know that is not what you wanted. You never wanted destruction. But the truth came out. Finally, I touched the cold stone. You saved me, Grandma, not with magic, with planning, with love that looked ahead. My voice cracked. I wish you could see what I am building. I wish you could be there when it opens. Silence. Just the wind. But I think you already know. Somehow. I think you have known all along. I stood, brushed dirt from my knees. I am flying, Grandma, just like you said. I pressed my fingers to my lips, then to the cold stone. Thank you. For everything. I walked back to my car. Did not look back. I did not need to. Eleanor was not in that grave. Eleanor was in the foundation, in the blueprints, in every door I would ever open for someone else. That was the real legacy, and it would last forever. March 20th, 2023. Harborview Tower grand opening. I stood in the atrium, surrounded by people, city officials, journalists, architecture critics. The industry that had once blacklisted me, now celebrating what I had built. Catherine Monroe stood at my side, proud and fierce. Victoria in a new blue dress, looking nervous but present. Olivia near the back, offering a small wave. And Elena Martinez, who had closed Rosie's diner for the day to be there, crying happy tears. Ladies and gentlemen, the lead architect of Harborview Tower, Stephanie Lawson. Applause. Cameras flashing. I stepped forward, scissors in hand. 42 stories of glass and steel and purpose. My name on the blueprints. My vision in the walls. I cut the ribbon. The crowd cheered. Later, after the speeches and interviews and handshakes, I slipped away, took the elevator to the rooftop, stood alone, Manhattan spreading below. The sun was setting, orange and pink and gold, just like that August evening in New Haven 18 years ago. I pulled out my grandmother's letter, the one I had carried for 2 years. Read it one more time. Live free, Stephanie. That is all I ever wanted for you. I folded the letter, pressed it to my heart. I am free, Grandma. Finally, I am free. Standing on that rooftop, I understood what my grandmother had been teaching me all along. 3 truths I would carry forever. First, boundaries are not betrayal. I spent so long feeling guilty for wanting independence, for not being the obedient daughter my father demanded. There was never anything wrong with me. There never was. Setting boundaries with toxic family is not cruelty. It is survival. It is self-respect. It is the first step toward a life that belongs to you. Second, real love does not control, it empowers. The people who truly love you do not hold you down. They lift you up. My grandmother never tried to control my choices. She gave me options, built foundations I could stand on, trusted me to find my own way. That is what love looks like. Not words, not promises, action. Third, sometimes the door you need is already being built. I could not see it during those 2 years of rejection, could not see the network Eleanor was weaving, the protection she was preparing. But it was there, waiting. If you are struggling, if every door seems closed, keep going. Someone might be building a door for you right now. You just cannot see it yet. I kept the letter in my wallet now, the paper soft from handling, the crease worn thin. Do not let anyone control you with money. Build something that belongs to you. I am building it, Grandma. Every day. I am building it. And I am finally free. That is my story. No magic, no fairy godmother appearing at the last second. Just a grandmother who loved me enough to plan ahead. A mentor who opened a door. A sister who found her courage. A mother who finally stood up. And a granddaughter who kept going even when every door seemed closed. It was not easy. 2 years of rejection. 2 years of being called a thief. 2 years of scrubbing tables and wondering if I would ever design again. But I am here now, standing on top of something I built. And if I can do it, so can you. If you are watching this and you are stuck in a controlling family, I see you. If you have been made to feel worthless by people who should have protected you, I see you. If you are wondering whether it is worth it to keep fighting, it is, I promise. You might have to build your own door. You might have to find your own allies. But you can get out. You can build something that belongs to you. You deserve to fly. Thank you for staying until the end. Truly. This story took me 2 years to live and a lifetime to understand. If it meant something to you, if any part of it resonated, I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what would you build if no one could stop you? And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, a friend stuck in a toxic situation, a family member who has been made to feel small, share it with them. Sometimes one story can change everything. If you want more stories like this, about ordinary people finding their strength, about families healing, about justice finally arriving, subscribe and hit that bell. New stories drop every week. And check the description for the next video. I think you will like it. Take care of yourselves. You are worth fighting for. You are worth building for. Now go fly. This story is fictionalized for dramatic effect.